morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at, ladies and gents. I am Kuura Isagami, your resident tinker and meta-rodder, and thanks for tuning in with me once again here on the MNN workshop floor for yet another Orimeda stream. I know it's been just a pretty hot minute since the last one, as I've been kind of trying to arrange a new schedule and just kind of figure out things to do between here and there, and as well especially figure out and coordinate the times I'm going to be setting up the Orimeda winter streams from the Steampunk contest back in the Project Rising Beetles server. But those are for future times and for future streams to deal with. This time tonight, of course, we will be having yet another guest here on the workshop floor that will be tuning in with us for a collaborative Orimeda stream where I will have them come on. We will just hang out, have a good time, and design a brand new, never before seen Orimeda. Much like I have with other previous guests of the time, it's always been something brand new. Even I have no clue what to expect as for every stream and every guest that we bring on. But with that being said, I am going to officially introduce our guest for this evening. IronClark, my friend, it is so nice to have you here at the MNN with me. How are you doing this evening?
Hello, I'm doing perfectly fine. I am full up on sushi and ready to rock and roll.
Looks like you're ready to go. How excited have you been for this stream as we've been preparing for it over this last week?
I have been, thankfully, my excitement has been very tempered because it's been a very long work week. But every day we got closer, it's like, oh, can't wait. Going to draw Metabot. You're going to draw Metabots.
Oh, fun.
It was very exciting.
That's always going to be a great time as well. But it is always a pleasure to have you with us here tonight on the MNN workshop floor, like I said. But before we do officially get started, how about you go ahead and take just a couple minutes and just kind of introduce to the chat who you are, what you do, things that you do on your channel, things that are particularly notable about you or your content creating journey. The spotlight's all yours, my friend.
Perfect. So, like I said, my name is IronClark. You can call me Clark. Iron was my dad.
Okay.
The sorry, it's such a dumb joke. But no, I primarily on my Blue Sky, I post a weapon a day that I draw a fantasy weapon every single day. I call it the Armory.
Okay, yeah.
I've been going on for 3,000 days now.
Oh, wow.
It's a little insane.
I can imagine. And here I thought my database of 4 years was impressive. Man, you've just been pounding them out by the day. That's really impressive, honestly, from one artist to another.
Thank you. The benefit I will have to say that's different from your coverage in my weapons is that I can have a backlog.
That is true. That is
I'm a
true.
month ahead, so I can take a week off and not stop. You, on the other hand, you got to be on the ball every week.
Yes. Unfortunately, I really can't prepare ahead of time because I've already covered every single one up to date about a year and a half ago. So there really is no backlog ready to go. So I really don't know what they're going to announce until the day they actually do. And I really personally wish that there was like a content creator program or something where, I could get that information ahead of time and prepare for it in the case something happens. But I haven't had the chance to inquire or even know where to yet. So I don't know. Fingers crossed.
I think what we really need you to have is a cot in the Imagineers like discussion room, so you can just like take a nap in there, take some notes.
Honestly, just even if it was just a casual email my direction, say, hey, we're doing this week. Here's any assets you might need for thumbnails. Make sure you provide links and everything to the main channel. I'm like, all right, bet I'll do what I can. And if I have a chance to work on that like a week ahead or something, then all I have to do is just hit upload. So. Not had a chance yet, but who knows? Maybe I might actually try reaching out to on the fan on the little fan page again and see if there's any possibility for that.
They are reading your stuff.
Which is shocking, honestly. I didn't think they would. But right now, back to putting the spotlight on you. So aside from the Armory, I have seen a lot of those pieces when you were also posting on Twitter for the longest time as well. Aside from the Armory, what are some other things that you do on your channel?
So I do Keyblades are my main bread and butter. Okay. I draw Keyblades from Kingdom Hearts, from various series and franchises. Hint for the upcoming one, I am doing adventure games. So I've been going through old adventure games.
Oh, fun!
Very fun. because I missed out on that era of gaming because I never really had a good PC.
Hmm.
I'm a console kid, so
Right.
that's where I was used to that. So King's Quest, Space Quest, those sort of games I missed out on. So it's been a fun time to see, and just like Metarots, if you look towards YouTube, there is a community for your niche likes, and it's always fascinating to see. So, yeah, I came across the adventure game side of YouTube, and it's been fun.
Gotcha.
Um, and then uh, it would be a little awkward, but normally on Tuesdays on my Twitch, which is just IronClark there as well, I stream a Minecraft roleplay get a server. We are reaching our next Tuesday at 7 p.m. EST is going to be our season finale.
Oh
So I probably
wow.
won't be streaming again for probably about another year or so because that's about the only thing I stream. It's also the only time I play Minecraft
Oh
because I
wow.
don't actually play Minecraft. I'm bad at playing Minecraft. I just
You're
show
just
up in RP.
you're just there for the experience.
Yeah. I don't play Minecraft. I play Clovercraft is what I do. I don't play Minecraft.
Gotcha,
Um,
gotcha. Well, with that season finale though, and taking that time to relax, that definitely would open up the schedule if you want to try some new stuff too.
oh
I've
yeah,
been I've been
absolutely.
I've
Yeah.
been debating doing that too on my channel with a Zelda title with a Let's Play commentary, but I just haven't figured out which one yet. I've got like three
Ooh.
contenders I'm considering at the moment. I just haven't
What
decided which.
what's your contenders?
Want to do Ocarina of Time because I grew up with that
Classic.
one.
Classic.
I can never go wrong with it.
Hmm.
My only drawback to that one is it's kind of overrated. I mean, like everyone's playing Ocarina of Time, so I want
Yeah,
to, but at the
yeah.
same time, I understand it. My other contenders are Twilight Princess, which I've only played to completion like once, I believe.
Twilight
Um,
Princess is very good.
and
Hmm.
then I also have a Skyward Sword HD. I just have to boot up my capture
Mm,
card to my Switch, and I can play that. So I've got a handful of titles I'm considering,
yeah.
but I just haven't figured out which one yet. But
Skyward was definitely one that I had not played entirely myself. I played the other ones a lot.
its
So
soundtrack was beautiful.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
Skyward
Oh
Sword's
yeah.
soundtrack. But on that topic, I'm actually going to shoot a suggestion your way as well before we do get
Oh
started
yeah.
for this evening. I would highly, highly, highly recommend, and I've said this in every single stream that's brought up, Dark Cloud 2.
Oh yeah. I do need to sit down and play through both Dark Clouds because I had the original Dark Cloud on
Mm-hmm.
PS2, and as a kid, my brain associated it as okay. This is Sony's Link. This is
Basically,
Sony's yeah, and
basically,
yeah,
they called it
yeah,
Sony's Zelda for the longest time, and it fits. But
yeah.
yeah, the first
I agree.
one,
Yeah.
you don't have to play the first one if you don't want to. It is kind of clunky mechanically, especially if you play two first and then go back. Two had a lot of had a lot of quality of life updates that one was kind of lacking on and needed. But no, two especially, I highly recommend playing. All star voice cast that went into putting it together. The audio for the soundtrack for it was composed by Tomohiro Nishiura, who I will always gush about because they also went ahead to do the Xenoblade series for their soundtracks. So you already know you're going to be in for a good time music wise with that game. But highly recommend playing that title. I highly implore it.
What's very funny? You mentioned Xenoblade. I have a friend in the Keyblade Forge server that is a Xenoblade fanatic. He has constantly been like, "You really should play. It. You really should play it."
I thought about doing
But
a Xenoblade
just
title too because I got two, and I have two and three on my Switch. I just haven't had the chance to finish three all the way through.
yeah, I'm I'm the type of person that I like to start at the beginning of something.
That's
So
fair.
my brain is like, I can't start on Xenoblade. I have to start on Xenogear. I have to go
That's
all the
fair.
way back.
That's
So
fair.
I have a journey ahead of me before I even touch the Xenosaga.
So
You know?
here's the neat thing about it though, and I'm pretty sure your friend has probably mentioned this as well. But the
Mhm.
unique thing about the Xenoblade series, just to touch on it briefly, is it's in a closed universe, but you don't have to play it in order to understand it. Like
Yeah.
if you play Xenoblade and then go to Xeno 2, like yeah, you kind of have an idea of what happens and you might pick up on a couple of nuances, but it's not required to fully immerse into story. So you could play 2, go back and play 1, and then play 3, and get 3 completely independent stories. But then looking back on is when you get all the references. So if you need that kind of assurance, you can do that as well. But to each their own as a preference. But sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead. I was just going to mention that one thing that I enjoy about going to like the beginning of something in chronological release order is seeing how things are developed throughout.
That's fair. That's valid.
As a once more back Kingdom Hearts fan, you can play the first Kingdom Hearts game and then play everything in chronological order after that, and you can see the mechanics being tested, being refined, and everything up until 3. So that's a fun thing for me to do. This little nugget of fun.
No, I totally get where that's coming from. As far as Dark Cloud 2 is concerned, though, I would actually, you can go back and play 1 first if you want, and then play 2. But being completely honest, I would skip ahead and play 2 because when it was originally released, it was known as Dark Chronicle. So they were 2 completely independent stories regardless. It's just the US dub that changed it to 2 because they were both by level 5.
Gotcha.
But no, highly recommended. Beloved title. It's actually what got me into the steampunk series as a whole. Highly recommended. I cannot recommend.
You like steampunk? I don't believe it.
No,
there's nothing, particularly the entire contest that would ever make me think that you are a steampunk fan at all.
No way. No. What a newsflash. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into what was into the meat and potatoes here for tonight with the custom Orimeda designs. So as standard rules were with previous guests, I did have Clark here play around with the random generator over this last week and come up with 4 prompts that they particularly enjoyed the most out of all the others and bring them to tonight. So essentially what we're going to do is kind of go over all of them and kind of figure out what they all do. And then we're going to figure out one concept of the 4 that we're going to refine even further. So I'm going to go ahead and just double check everything and then get my BGM started on my end. Keep that just particularly on the lower end just so it's not too loud. Alrighty.
But their drums.
Alrighty, so going through the concepts first, I'm going to go ahead and look all these up. Looking over all these, it doesn't look like you included a motif in here, so I'm going to assume you kind of already had one in mind. So that being said, what's the grand motif that we're looking at here that we can kind of refine further?
So I was actually kind of inspired a bit by your steampunkness, but pushing a little bit further in the timeline to a kind of an industrial, like a very like, I don't know why, particularly the first one is what really sparked the thought in my head of,
so it's like Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So
I was thinking very much. If you play Final Fantasy VII, I've only played the remake personally, but the vibes that Midgar gives, like in any I'm even worse of a Pokemon fan. But whenever you go to like the industrial plant and you get Voltorbs and stuff like that,
yes,
sort of vibe. I don't know what it sparked in my head of that.
Okay.
And it just kind of stayed.
Gotcha. Okay, so looking officially at the concepts that you saved up for tonight, option 1 in particular, since we're going to be going with an Industrial Revolution kind of style, so that can be anything from steampunk as a particular topic of interest, just mechanical in general. So we have lots of different ways we can interpret this. So so option number 1 that we're looking at here is repair. Is repair plant. Missile C. Void shot with multi-legs and super armor and a heavy
Missile C. That was one of the
that's one of that's from one of the crafty mode models that was released last year.
Yeah, I think my snip accidentally did not grab the the HP limits of.
No, I see it. Let me take a look here real quick.
Yeah, I believe they were both 1.
Okay.
The last one was 0.
Okay, so we'll figure it out. Okay,
Yeah.
so just to kind of break this one down and look at it, this looks to be a very solidly support-oriented shooter type, just based on initial glance. So Repair Plant is a setup type skill that puts a healing plant on the field, and every time an ally that has damaged parts and that is not at full HP finishes a heating phase, they'll get a small amount of HP restored back to all damaged parts, roughly about 400 or 500 per tick, roughly, and generally serves as a really good way to serve as a passive healing kind of thing. So if you can't really afford it in the team in any way of capacity, passive assistance such as with plants or with traps was usually always a pretty solid function to go with. Missile C in particular is not really all that much different from the basic missile in particular, aside from the fact it has a higher ascension bonus when raising. So essentially it is just a basic missile attack with an AoE effect, which means it will damage all parts of the target and spread the damage. So that means if it has 4 healthy parts, that is a quarter damage each, and just kind of works its way down. Void Shot is a unique shooting skill that when attacking the target checks to see how light they are. In contrast to gravity skills which check for weight and number of heavy parts, Void Shot deals more damage the fewer heavy parts the target has in line. Multiped legs means it has pretty decent coverage on most terrains pretty solidly, and the leg ability of Super Armor also grants it immunity completely and utterly from paralyzed type ailments a certain number of times. So that being said, Clark, what were your overall thoughts with this design? What made this one stand out to you?
So, granted, I don't. Game mechanics usually comes 8th in my brain, but the inspiration that kind of caught me of this was the you've seen the prototype robot dogs that's been in media here in the past.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that with the sort of legs, crawling along and everything, but very much a type of a worker robot that is going through the industrial plants or whatever to try and assist.
So kind of like a drone kind of robot, a multi-level drone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're going after. Okay, I can see it.
Yeah.
All right, so option 2. We're off to a good start so far. I think we're off to a very solid start. There we go.
Yeah.
Option 2.
And also, I want to tell everybody, he's pulling all of this knowledge out of his brain for the most part. I'm looking at his list.
That and I have the master list next to me too, because I covered so much stuff I forget what does what sometimes.
But he's not reading it verbatim, guys. He is not. He is pulling it right out.
Well, I like to believe I am anyway. Alright, so option 2 has a kit of Wide Beam with Flame, Melt Shot, with Biped Legs, and Battle Master. That's kind of shooting a little far there. There we go. With a... We'll say this one had a heavy limit of 1.
Yeah, I believe it was 1. I believe these 2 were 1 and the last one was 0.
Okay, so we'll just assume they're both 1. Okay, so this one seems to be a little more on the aggression side as far as ailments are concerned. So Wide Beam is an optic skill that is an AoE, much like Missile C does, but because it is an optic attribute, it gets damage plus relative to the amount of charge the user has when firing. So in contrast to regular Beam, which doesn't really deal a lot aside from the boosted damage, Wide Beam is a little more viable in the sense that you damage more than one thing at a time, even if it does spread the damage. Flame is a melee attack that when damaging the target also grants them with sets both the user and the target with a fire DOT effect, which will slowly whittle their HP down over time. However, the catch to Flame is as long as you maintain the fire DOT, you get boosted damage every time you continue to use Flame. So this is very solid if you plan to endure the damage over time for longer than, say, 1 or 2 turns, and you have somebody that can kind of cover behind you and restore what was lost. Melt Shot is a basic shooting skill that deals a melt DOT on the target, much like Fire does, but the nice thing is that both of these are actually stackable, because they're considered as 2 separate negative symptoms. Biped legs are usually just your kind of all-around coverage. You can't go wrong with them. But the leg ability of Battlemaster also grants a damage plus if all 3 skills have different effect types equipped. That is not shooting, melee, support. That is instead piercing, non-piercing, AoE, and scatter as some examples to that. That being said, Clark, what are your thoughts overall on this one? What kind of made this one stand out?
So when I was, what mainly grabbed me for this was Flame and Melt Shot being very thematically similar.
Okay.
And it made me think of like an industrial incinerator, like those big things that just takes away trash. I was thinking very much of this not necessarily tanky, but this the shooting fire, being a very fire-based bot with with like a furnace and stuff like that.
So like a furnace blacksmith kind type.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. I can see where you're going from with that, and Battlemaster,
which I believe you've done one before. Yeah.
Blacksmith actually was done by a friend of mine, Helm Chanton, for one of our previous Orimeda contests. So I can definitely see where we're coming from with that. But with a completely different kit like this, I really don't think clashing with Helm Chans is really going to be a big problem. But that's the nice thing, is we can take even the same concept or similar themes and really spin them around and make them fun. So that being said, moving forward, option 3 has a kit of Freeze with Giga Gatling, Hammer C with Flight Legs, and All-Rounder with a heavy limit of 1. Alright, so this one in particular, now having a chance to look into it, is kind of in the same all-rounder status as say option 2 was, but to a different degree. Freeze is just your basic melee attack that upon attacking the target will freeze them in place, guaranteeing that any next hit will land and be a critical hit on top of that if you attack them while still frozen. At the very least, also buying you some extra time. Giga Gatling is a shooting skill that deals boosted damage if your legs are intact, and also deals defense ignore damage on top of that, at the cost that you cannot dodge or defend on your cooldown. Plus, being a scatter skill means that Giga Gatling will damage one part normally and then 2 others randomly for more damage. And much like Missile C in option 1, Hammer C is basically the same thing. It's just a melee hammer attack that gets a higher ascension bonus when raising it to higher part ranks. Flight Legs means it's going to have a much higher emphasis on mobility and dodge at the trade of armor, but the leg ability of All-Rounder is kind of neat here, as long as all 3 skills are different types, so melee, shooting, support, setup, and so on, then the legs get an extra mobility boost on top of that. So what are your overall thoughts with this option, getting a chance to kind of hear the breakdown on it, Clark?
So, hearing the breakdown and everything, what does toss a wrench in what I felt when I initially grabbed it is the Giga Gatling, which you would think by the name it would have been enough to trigger it, but I was looking at this one as being much of a like a flying drone, as it were. Something that would with Freeze, thinking of once more with the industrial plants of like pipes overheating or something. You would go in for
like
cool the pipes down. Yes, like an antifreeze. Yeah, something very much of that utilitarian role. Because I usually when I think of a Metabot, I'm usually thinking of, okay, how would they work in the world? That's where I first go to.
I getcha. Honestly, the only real thing I see on this one that would be kind of the weird point is the fact it's using All-Rounder, and it is kind of picky, much in the same case that Battlemaster is, but in different effects. The issue with option 3 primarily is the fact it's using 2 melee skills and 1 shooting skill, so it will not have the opportunity to use All-Rounder in its native pure set. But that doesn't stop it from being able to be used as mixed parts, since that is also a thing that is very easily done. Now, moving forward, option 4 and our last one that you're bringing with us tonight. Option 4. Let me move stuff around here. There we go. Alright, so this one has a kit of Thunder, Stealth, Rifle, with Wheeled Legs, and Barrier.
I really got the the spread of legs here with a multi-biped flight and wheels.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of different options that we can explore here. There we go. And this one had a heavy limit of 0. So this is a lightweight model. Okay, so looking at this one. So this one might not be focusing as heavily on damage per se, but having the ability of barrier and stealth on there does definitely give it the auxiliary or support offense more than anything else. Thunder is a melee attack that will stun the enemy in question when attacking them, guaranteeing that the next hits will land that will land, but also buy yourself just a little bit of extra time, much like Freeze will. Stealth is a support skill that will completely cast a veil over the user and make them untouchable for their entire next turn, cooling and heating phase, unless they're already being targeted. This also allows them to bypass any shields that are in effect, so they can attack exactly who they want. Rifle is just your basic shooting skill, nothing really special there specifically, but with no drawback or penalty or any major advantage, it's a very solid and user-friendly part. Wheeled legs, however, at the cost of not being as terrain-friendly, usually tend to focus on having on much better overall stats but having a higher mobility. And the leg ability of Barrier is nice, as upon charging Metaforce once and spending a turn to do so, you get the Guard Boost effect, which will boost the resist stats up to 50%, meaning that any incoming hits that you do end up taking will be just a little bit weaker than they would be originally. So, with this final candidate here, Clark, what were your overall thoughts with this one?
So this one kind of bucked the trend of the Industrial Revolution a bit, because I saw this and the only thing I could get in my head was like the classic action movies that my dad would watch, like Rambo. Why is only Rambo coming to mind? I swear there was more that he watched. But yeah, I was thinking very much like this is. Thunder Stealth Rifle, the wield is just fun for me, was that it felt very much like a military drone, as it were.
Okay.
So it bucked the trend of the Industrial Revolution, but I also like the idea of prototypes, so it being a prototype during that era is kind of why I kept it hanging on.
Okay. I can kind of see where you're going with that.
Yeah.
So, looking at all 4 options side by side now having the proper explanation of what each one does, which one's kind of standing out to you the most? Because just based on our conversation so far, I'm personally leaning more toward option 2, but I want to hear your thoughts on that as well, just seeing if any one of these stood out more.
I was in between 1 and 2 myself, because I think the with 3, it's a bit more. Like I said, the all-rounder really doesn't actually work for it because of Freeze and Hammer C. And then option 4, like I said, it already bucked the trend of what I was thinking of.
Right.
So it was between 1 and 2.
Okay. I could honestly see that. And the nice thing, too, is that just because we don't pick any of these other ones doesn't mean that they're, like, completely gone. You can always revisit them later and see if you want to refine it or do something on your own. Like I said, honestly, I'm leaning more toward 2 because I think we could do a lot with that in the Ford Smithy kind of design that we were kind of talking about earlier. Yeah. But I just want to make sure that we're both on the same page with that before I do proceed any further.
Yeah. A Forge Smithy might be a good idea for that one. Yeah, let's go with 2.
All right, let's
send it.
All right, bet. Let's make this happen. So let me move all these in here. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna put that over here. Just kind of start shifting some stuff around.
As a Eclipse Studio user as well, I name 0 of my layers. So seeing you like actually label a folder and everything is insane to me.
I tend to when I'm working on larger pieces, but if I'm doing just like a really basic or not like haphazard sketch, I don't focus too heavily on it. Because I tend to stay under like 6 or 7, and it's something I can easily keep track of mentally. So I don't really focus on it too heavily. But if I'm doing like a dedicated piece, I'll have several different layers.
Let me open up the Metabot poster I've been working on, just so I can tell you how many layers it is.
Oh dear, I can only shudder at how many that is with how long you've been working on it.
I need to add some more. I have decided this week, or at least my brain has, that It's anime watching week, so I haven't really been drawing too much, which was good. You need to remember to take breaks, people.
Yes,
Take
indeed.
take a
That
break.
is important.
Because if you do not, you will be
You don't want that crash
hot
out.
block, and then yeah. You just don't want it. It is taking a minute to load because it is a large file.
I can imagine it would be quite large.
Every Metabot gets their own little layer.
That's what I did with another sketch of mine from a while ago, but I never had the chance to go back and finish it or keep working on it, so I probably should eventually, but I've just had far too many other things I've been working on to really pay attention or deal with it.
That's fair. I keep a running list of ones that I've already done and stuff like that. Let me see if I can pull it up. So I have so far added 156 Metabots to
Wow.
To it.
That's actually quite impressive.
It is insane. And every time your coverage comes out, I go like, okay, am I adding more to this list, or am I safe? Did I already have this added? Which last coverage I got lucky on.
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of happy that they finally decided to release Earth Gnome this week, because I know it's been like a running joke for the longest time of when they're gonna do it, because they released Flame Vulcan and Wind Sylph at the same time, or very, very close within each other. They released Aqua Nereid fairly close, about at least a couple weeks later, within a few weeks, without going back and checking my notes. And then they spend like an entire year, almost to the date, before they drop Earth Gnome. So it's just been this long-running joke of when are they going to release Earth Chrono 2, because we don't know when, if they've not teased it for so long.
We are at 908 layers.
Oh, oh, wow, that's that's dedication. Listen, guys, if you want to know what dedication is, all right, you've seen it on my channel with all my coverages. Look, this man over here, all right, this spooky little ghoul over here, all right. You gotta look at this guy. Look at this guy, okay? 900 something layers, The most artists wouldn't do that. Like, even most high-end VTuber models, with all the layers split apart, probably don't go beyond a couple hundred, maybe. And that's usually for the really high-quality ones. But, wow. Wow, that's a lot. That's some very heavy dedication there. Very, very impressive work.
And I haven't even hit 200 Metabots yet. It's really insane.
That is a lot of work. So props to you for keeping up, keeping up for that long. Very impressive work. Okay, so now I have my frame here. So what I'm honestly thinking about is I'm kind of visualizing this in my head. Given the fact that it's basically triple shooty, means that we're not going to be touching on, essentially encroaching on what Helm-chan did with her design. So we have a little bit more freedom to play around with this. What I'm thinking initially is I really like the idea of going with like a brain work with me, a torches mask, kind of like a blacksmith's mask.
Oh yes,
you know what I'm talking about. Something along those lines.
With the flip down visor, that would work because those typically do have a wide visor, so that would work well for the light beam. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, we could do something like that. Working my way down the body, though, as I'm trying to visualize this before I make any strokes, I'm debating the idea of going the apron route, kind of similar to what Helm-chan did, but I'm thinking of also making it a little bulkier down from like the knee lower. But I'm not 100% sure where I'm going with that.
I have kind of a weird idea.
Hit me.
All right. So, the designs where sometimes it's like the body itself is a mouth, right?
Okay.
So what if we have the flip down visor mask, but it extends down a little bit further, and it has like a jagged edge that's connecting towards the main body.
Okay,
So
I see what you're I see what you're looking at now. So something kind of like what they did with Chaos Fixer.
I believe so. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah,
because I don't know their names nearly as
Yeah,
well as you do.
let me send a picture of that to you real quick. Hold on. Where is it?
Thank you, Metapedia, for having it faster and heated. It makes me look fancy. Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, Chaos Fixer had a really freaky looking design. I have to give credit where it's due, whoever was in charge of the design for that one.
Yeah, that one. They took the name Chaos Fixer. Actually,
given that its design given that its design motif was Azathoth, you know, I think they kind of had some very solid motifs to work with. I think
in Wiccan mythology too, the symbol for chaos is a circle in the center with several arrows pointing out. And I believe that was an inspiration for this. Just looking at it because of its large abdomen,
very large bulk. Yes, I can see it.
Yeah, and then all the arrows pointing off the everything. I believe that might have been an inspiration for that.
I gotcha. I
love it when I know some obscure little thing that doesn't really matter, and I find it somewhere else.
Oh yes,
it's
definitely.
so validating.
I think the only big concern I have with that is mostly the fact that because it's bipedal, it does make doing that idea a little weird. Now, if we had, say, like a tank-legged or a float or a sea-legged, I think we could pull that off a little easier as like a illusion. But with the biped, it's gonna be a little. It's gonna be a little hard.
Yeah, they're moving a lot. They're moving more humanoid. So yeah.
So how about this as an idea? And you'll probably know exactly where I'm coming from with this as I'm putting it together. What about those kind of like a very large shin guard or knee guard, kind of like a hockey goalkeeper's pads, and we extend that down from we extend it down from the knee to the foot.
Yes, I'm here for you on that.
Something just fairly bulky as a whole.
Yeah, almost kind of classic Mega Man-esque.
Yes.
You know, where it's a chunk.
Yes, yes, exactly. The only real question I have essentially is what we would do for the arms. My initial thought, like the first thing my brain came up with when we put this together, was maybe doing like a stylized furnace for like a furnace cannon for an arm for maybe like melt shot, and then we just need to figure out something for flame. So
for flame, what we could do is we could have like superheated pipes, kind of like a I believe it's one of the CAT models that have it for Thunder for their arm, in which it's it's a Tesla coil.
Okay.
But if we do the reverse, if it's a superheated, you know, like the fist is kind of like a superheated pipe.
Well, I was thinking too, what we could do is do a bulked, kind of like a bulked up hand with like a separate pipe for each finger, kind of like an oversized arm or like a mitt.
Yeah.
That could work. We could do that.
Yeah.
Okay. It's coming together. We have an idea here. So let's see which layer is this one. I don't have two.
In the video game business, this is called the concept stage.
That's the fun part of all this, is putting all this together. All right, now that we have an idea of what we're working on, let's start cooking. So we like the idea of going with like a blacksmith's mask. Yeah. So actually refine this a little better. So here. Now, the only thing I've really had to train myself how to do in all my years of using Clip Studio is not looking at my hand, and it obviously shows with my line quality.
I stabilization at the wazoo.
Yeah, my stabilization is always at like 55, because if it's anything longer than that, it irks me and messes with me. So I just have to play with it. Yep.
Any budding artists out there, play with your settings, you know, or if you just pick up a setting and it's like, okay, this is the default setting, this is what I know how to do, then that's what you know how to do.
Yes, exactly. So I'm thinking, what I'm thinking of as a possibility, I want to include some kind of chimney stack or something on the top of the head, but I don't know how to go about that. I don't know if I want to make it asymmetrical or if I want to do something a little more subtle.
Yeah, you could do an option of it. what if, and I just had this thought, what if the curved head part is already the chimney stack, and we could have the smoke billowing out
Oh,
from
okay,
there,
okay.
kind of like a
I see what you're cooking
Uh,
up. All right,
yeah.
all right. Let me.
like if you poured water on top of Ghost Rider's head. I told you I would bring up Marvel Comics at some point.
Something kind of like that, essentially.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Like have
I
it,
get
you know, it's still subtle there and everything. It doesn't take away from the
I get
the
you.
mask. But yeah.
I getcha. It's always in the details. That's the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do.
And I imagine this might be one of the bots that have just no LED lights.
Well, if anything, it'd probably just be the visor itself.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, we're not putting a oh god, what's that Gundam? The enemy Gundam, Zaku's? Is that correct?
It's kind of like a mono eye.
Yeah, yeah.
We could
I'm
do that.
thinking, yeah,
We
yeah.
could do a mono eye. I'd be down for it. I can just get this.
And also another tip for artists: use the tools given to you. It's not cheating.
Yes, that's why they give them to you, and that's also why
Yeah.
they have a workshop where people make their own.
Yes. Yeah. Symmetry tool, amazing for swords.
Oh yes,
I should know. I've drawn a lot of them.
I use symmetry for almost everything when I get the chance to.
Yeah. Yeah, not nearly as fun with keyblades because they are asymmetrical by design.
Oh yes, I had someone who commissioned me for a drawing of one once, but unfortunately, I'm someone who has never been in the Kingdom Hearts series. I just never had the chance to get into it, so it was an extremely foreign concept trying to figure out how to do it, and I did it once, but I don't know if I'm gonna have a chance to do it again or if I have that inspiration to go that way. But I can definitely appreciate a lot of the concepts that went into it because they sent me a whole bunch they had as references, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty heavy on that design that I'm not sure if I'd be able to properly deliver.
There's a thing I want to do because I have many friends who are not into the Kingdom Hearts series and they like to bully me for it. But I've talked with another artist friend of mine who and I keep bringing it up, and I just need to sit down and make like the slideshow or whatever for it.
Like what is Kingdom Hearts thing?
Almost. Your what is meta routes really kicked it off for me for this idea, but more of like a here's how you would design a Keyblade for yourself 101 type thing, right?
Okay.
Because I could, what is Kingdom Hearts is going to take at least 6 hours, but I can sit down there and tell you how to do a Keyblade, do a personalized Keyblade.
Gotcha, I see.
I've drawn at least 2 of them.
Oh,
I say that. I believe I'm at 100.
Okay, I see. I can definitely see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
Okay, one thing I need to do as well, hold on, is...
So I may poke you for that one and be like, hey, you want to join in on this learning experience?
I will have to see what I have going on, yes.
Yeah, I've got to do all the setup and everything for it, so it's not going to be anytime soon. But I can poke you for that because it is a rather fascinating way to sit there and try to learn how to draw them because they're not like your traditional weapons. They're more so extensions of a person's personality.
Right. There's
Yeah.
a lot of nuance that goes into their creation.
And they're fun.
What I'm thinking,
And that's
how to make this a little asymmetrical to a point. I'm thinking about adding like a patch or something on the side and then put some rivets on it. What do you think?
yeah. I love me a good rivet design. It's really fun to do.
Something maybe kind of like this.
Yeah. Because if you're going to be working in an industrial plant, you're not going to be a very clean bot.
Nope, not at all. So let's try. Oops, hold on. There we go. That's a little more like what I wanted.
I do find it very interesting.
This.
You're using a stage of the anti-aliasing that I don't normally use. I use the one just above that one.
Okay, yeah. I don't really pay attention to it, honestly. It just kind of happens, and I just never bother changing it.
That's fair. The only time that it happens to me that I actively go to jump for it is when it's pixely.
Okay, yeah.
When I'm not doing pixel art, I'm like, oh well, maybe I should go fix that one because it's not gonna look right with the rest of my stuff.
So let's see. Let's do.
Working on the chest, it reminds me of back because I've been on the internet for a long time, and I started off on good old classic DeviantArt. Back,
Yes, I remember DeviantArt.
back when it still wasn't a great spot,
But
it was better.
It was the hot spot for artists.
Yeah,
As questionable as the site was.
yeah. But really, what kind of first got me on getting more favorites and stuff like that on there was Metabot art, actually.
How so?
So I did a design of a Metabot as it would be built in Halo.
Okay.
Really big into Halo in the time. And I made a KBT type. Atlas is what I called him.
Okay.
I
think I remember you showing me art of that at one point.
Yes, it's so old. I will not bring it up here. It's so old. I drew it with pencil and paper, scanned it in, and then I used Paint Tool Psi is what I had available, and I colored it on there and everything. But it's what people looked at my stuff for. Back then, I had far less knowledge of Metabots. I just knew what I saw as a kid on on Disney. I believe it was on Disney, wasn't it?
I think it was on no, it was no, not Foxbox. It was Kids WB, I think.
All right, I gotta look this up
Possibly?
now. I'm curious.
I would have. Yeah, I would need to double check.
I'm looking it up now. You draw. I'll look up.
Let me
see.
see.
This is very, very common for me to be on a stream and then I'm pulling up a wiki page at some point in time. Let's see here. Yeah, Tokyo TV. Fox Kids and ABC Family. I believe I was on ABC Family.
It was Fox. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
it
was Fox.
I was along the lines. I was thinking it was one of those two. I just couldn't think of Fox.
Oh yeah, I see what you're working with the legs here, and that's exactly the vibe I was thinking of too. I love me a chunky leg. Makes me think back of once more Mega Man, but there was this cartoon I watched called I think it was just called Robot Boy.
I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, little small little guy popped up. Yeah. Robots are cool, guys. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Oh, they absolutely are. They always have been.
Yeah, but back to the story here is that I had more knowledge of Halo than I did of Metabots at the time. I just had the passing knowledge of Metabee is designed after a Kabuto beetle. He's got this is the weapons that he has available towards him. I'm going to use that same weapon system and just swap it out for Halo weapons.
Right.
I gave him sniper rifle. I gave him, I believe it was the assault rifle over the submachine gun, the Magnum for the revolver. And I didn't realize at the time that the legs were the other parts, right? I just okay, the legs just designate only if they're able to walk, their terrain, didn't have anything else in my head. But I wanted to add something else to it because it's there needs to be another thing. And I chose to give him a chest piece that had a weapon. And I gave the Spartan laser that spot.
Okay.
And that's always been a thing in my head of it would be kind of cool if we had chest piece weapons too, just as a fun little bit. But that was, I drew that Metabot, I posted it on DeviantArt, and that's where I got my start of things. And then since then I have been drawing robots and mechanicals. I've gotten a lot better at drawing organic stuff, but that is where my bread and butter lies, is mechanical deals.
Honestly, it's still good though. It's a niche that, weirdly enough, not a lot of artists tend to explore. Like, most of the time when you look up or when you see people that are sharing, hey, my commissions are open, most of the time, about 6 out of 10 times, they're gonna say stuff they don't do. Then they'll usually list the usual stuff, like no gore, no NSFW, or anything like that. But half the time, about 6 out of 10 times, they'll also say no mecha.
Yeah, because it is,
it's very weird. You have to kind of know what you're getting into with it.
Yeah, I've got a friend who, that's the thing that they struggle with, but they can draw dragons and people with such great understanding of like the anatomy and how clothing would fit, would fall on them and everything. They do fantastic work.
But it's just one particular genre that's just their bane.
Yeah, the moment they start like armor or something, they freeze up. And what's bad is that they have a robot character that they play that they love playing and everything, but they draw it so rarely because what it is. Because
it's just a weakness when it comes to wanting to draw.
Yeah.
No, I totally get that too. It's something you have to be really careful with when it comes to when it comes to things like that. So you either have to get really good at it and just kind of practice with it over time, or you just avoid it, which you can only do as an artist for so long, because eventually someone's going to come up and ask, hey, can you do this? And you either say no and miss out on money, or you're like, all right, fine, let's try it, and then hope for the best, and then just hope and pray it comes out even halfway decent.
Yeah, I was actually commissioned not too long ago to design somebody's fursuit. I'm like, I've never done that before. And they're like, oh, we've seen your other art. We think you can do it. And I went, okay, all right. If it doesn't come out good, I'm sorry. And apparently, a lot of people really they showed it around, and a lot of people really liked it. So it's like, well, all right, that's a feather in my hat there.
I've considered the same thing with Let me read through this. I've considered the same thing with pixel art to a point, because apparently I'm told I can do pixel art really well, but it's one of those rare things where you have to know what you're doing with it, or it's gonna come out really weird, especially if you animate them, or like actually make like an animated sprite art or something. So it's something you have to like really practice with and learn. Otherwise, it comes out really funky, and you get cross-eyed really easily working with something like that.
Yeah, I dabble a little bit in pixel art myself, and things that I have found make that a little bit easier is to pixel art of the art that you've already done, because you know how everything is supposed to fit and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, I done that, and then I got to a kick where I was just looking at the keyblades throughout all Kingdom Hearts, and I was just doing it in MS Paint just as good practice to kind of get shading and consistency and keeping size and everything. And then I was showing it to a friend of mine who is a pixel artist. That's his bread and butter. And when I told him I was using Microsoft Paint, he immediately got me a sprite. It was like, never do that again.
Gotta love it.
He was like, okay, all right, well, so now I feel bullied into having to use a sprite every time I do use pixel art. I don't do it very often, but it is it's soothing in its own way. It's
you gotta be in the mood for it.
Yeah, you gotta be in the mood for it. I look at it as kind of almost like chiseling in a way. Yeah. Because I start off with a block of colors and everything, and I just start working away at it piece by piece, color by color, and eventually it starts to come out like that, and it's fun.
Yeah, it's definitely an art form unto itself, and I have a lot of respect for folks that are willing to put the time into doing that, because I've seen some stupidly smooth pixel art animations, especially when they offer those as like commission, and it's like 20, 30 frames, it's that smooth. It's like almost like full-blown animation. It's just like the amount of time and effort that goes into that. I'm just so impressed by it.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's one reason why I really liked Pizza Tower, because it uses the pixel art
Yeah.
style, but there's so many frames, even just for the regular idle animation. The regular idle animation alone was like, I don't remember. It was like at least like 20 something. Like just for the just Peppino breathing was like 20 something frames. And then he has all his little different his little idle animations he does on the side too with that, which add more. I think the smallest amount of frames he has in any of his stuff was I think it's his Mach run. Like his level 3 Mach run has like 3 frames, but his Mach 4 Mach run is like 8 or 9. And that's not even touching on like a particle effect it has any of those.
Yeah.
But then again, you can add that in post-processing in the game engine itself and not really think too much about it. But still, I just love that attention to detail, and that's also why I really liked Anton Blast when that released, because I'm a sucker for animation like that. I'm a sucker for it. I'll admit it, because it's an art form. You either are really good at it, or you find someone who's really good at it, and you just never stop seeing their stuff everywhere because it's just that kind of quality.
On the other side of things, because those went with a very stylistic, very cartoony, very
90s style cartoons.
Yeah, 90s. Yeah. Ren and Stimpy.
Yes, which is another reason why a lot of people loved them, because you had much more freedom with animations, with the limits on what you could do with stretching things, and it worked itself out where, like, if frames weren't 100% matching up, then you didn't have to worry about it. You could chalk it up to cartoony shenanigans, and people wouldn't argue it.
Yeah, I think that's always a fun thing to do. When people are doing any project or anything like that, sometimes it's a lot more fun to go against a simple grain and just be like, I'm going to try and model it after this particular type of animation style. Because going back to the Minecraft roleplay stuff I do, next season I am playing a character, because we have a mod called custom player models, where we can have animations, we can really break the mold of what a Minecraft character can look like. Because it was back in season 2 when we didn't have it, the dragon that was supposed to be very big was the same size as everybody else. So so it was the dragon was just a chump very much on time.
At that point, you just had to focus very heavily on the magic of illusion. Yeah,
but with the custom player mod, we're able to actually bring forth a lot of things. And I have decided, and I've done a lot of work on it already. I want to go and do touch work of it. But I'm playing a character very much inspired by the rubber hose style of animation. And that has been so much fun to play around with the squash and the stretch, and the fact that, like, I don't have to explain why he suddenly has got a snorkel and goggles when he jumps in the water. That's just what he do.
It's just part of the style. No one argues it.
Yeah. Hear me out on this. What if it's plating that's on the thigh itself that's just going up? Or are you trying to make a pot? Oh, okay, never mind. No.
Yeah, I'm trying to do like a pouch, but I just couldn't get the shape right.
Yeah. Pouches can be hard sometimes.
Then...
Yeah, I do love... I do love taking a style and being like, okay, I'm going to look at this and like really learn how they do it and then apply it into a different sense. It's so fun.
I would honestly recommend, because there's actually a couple of YouTubers that I've seen that friends follow that actually use the rubber hose style as like their art style. Damon Grave is one of them that I follow. There's another one in another server I help manage with a friend that's very rubber hose style. There's another really big one that's out there that's like 50,000-60,000 follows. I don't quite remember her name off the top of my head, but she's
Pumpkin something. That's what I've seen too.
That might be her actually. But apparently she's fairly big in that realm. She runs like this 50s style diner as her aesthetic.
Yeah.
But yeah, There's
I
a lot of
really
folks
do
that do
love a
that.
VTuber that breaks that mold too. Like because it's just fun. You know, it's fun to go against the grain. Like I do love a good classic anime style. Um, but I like people's styles, in and of itself.
When they
Oh
break
no,
when they
no,
break the mold and try something new.
yeah.
Honestly, there's actually a VTuber I started following recently, and what they did is it's a low poly 3D model, but the art style for it is pixelated,
Oh,
and it's honestly kind of neat. Like I actually looked up the artist that did their model, and it's a really creative style. Like it's your usual what you'd expect of a 3D model, but the art texture that went into it and even the 3D model to itself was extremely low poly. So it had a lot of very sharp edges.
yeah,
Its textures were extremely pixelated, much like you'd expect of like a PS1, PS2 style pixel game. But really, really cool. I'll have to see if I can find that person and show them to you because
yeah,
it's
yeah. That'd
really
be really neat.
it's really neat how they did that.
I have a friend who sends me clips of a VTuber that they found that uses it's a 3D model, but they have the number of animations cut down way down, so it has a claymation-esque vibe to it.
They just cut down on the frames per
Yeah,
second.
yeah, the frames per second, but it's a it's a 3D model that they have designed to also look claymation like. So
Okay.
it's
Okay.
very much of the I have an idea and I'm sticking to it the entire time I'm doing this.
I mean, hey, more power to them if they find something that works. I mean, for instance, look at Shy Lily. You know, with her models,
yeah.
is extremely high quality stuff, but she has that very signature style that's really hard to miss. So you can
Yeah.
take one look at a Shy Lily model and realize, or even if you don't even know who Shy Lily is, you'll see it. Wait, I've seen that style before. You know it because it's very iconic.
It's like the Toriyama style, right? You can see
Yes.
someone who grew up drawing Toriyama style and went, "Well, we know where you got it from," and it's iconic.
Yes,
There is
exactly.
an artist I started to really pay attention to and everything. He is a French comic book artist by the name of Ludo Lullaby,
Okay.
who his style is very much pushing the uh, exaggeration of proportions
Okay.
and the use of heavy blacks, right? Heavy black shading.
I think that probably
And
inspired a good chunk of your style too, isn't it?
exactly, yep. That I've because my style, in one of my friend groups, we invited somebody new to it and everything, and they are very stylized, very accomplished artists. And I started feeling a bit down about my own stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and thankfully, instead of internalizing that and going the nice fun depression route that one tends to do, I decided to experiment some because I was reading one of his comics and I saw the art style and I went, "That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to experiment with this and see how I like with it and everything." And I've been experimenting with that for probably about 2 years now,
Oh
and
wow.
it's been a fun time. I feel, good example. Let me I'll post this in our chat right here. Is I've been updating characters that I play in TTRPGs.
Okay.
So this first one is or the first one was when I first started practicing the style, and the second one is something I drew earlier this year. Now that I've gotten far more comfortable with it, far more experience with it, and just
All right. Let me see
got to
here.
play around with it. Yeah,
Let me see here. Okay. Yeah, and the solid blacks like that is it's definitely a very heavy comic book style too. Like very
Yeah.
very dynamic comic book style. It's something that a lot of people can pick up on fairly easily.
yeah,
So
and
I can definitely
it's
see that.
it's fun. I love reading comic books. That is my thing. I could sit here and tell you so much about comic books. I but it's comic books are fun. That's the end all of it all.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Enjoy
Okay.
comic books.
So here's kind of what we're looking at so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the vents on the legs. I was going to suggest that, but you were already working on it, so it's like I'm just gonna let him do his thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something else we could do, but at the same time, I don't want to reinvent the wheel either, which is kind of the big struggle with character design. I'm thinking I'm thinking ultimately that I don't want to do anything like super complex because it's a blacksmith. A lot of stuff is going to be covered by a lot of heavy bulk, so we don't need to focus as heavily on internal detail. I'm just trying to think of other ways that we could play with that.
What could be interesting is we could put the like a caution symbol on his it's not a loincloth,
like a
tabard?
skirt,
Tabard?
kind of like a smithy skirt.
Yeah,
apron, a worker's apron.
Yeah, we could put like a hazard fire symbol right there.
Could.
That's an idea.
I want to stretch this up a little farther too because
there
we go. That's a little better. That's the shape I want. Something kind of like this. Gotta trim that down just a little bit too.
I do find it very interesting that you go straight into the line art. That is a power move.
How so?
I sketch so much. I what I typically do is that I start with my base skeleton sketch.
Kind of like what I did here with the red outline.
Yep. And then from there, I have a secondary sketch. That's going to be the now I'm getting better at the proportions of things. From there, I adjusting how I want everything to be at for the pose and all of that, and then I have a third sketch in which now I'm actually drawing where I want things to work with and everything. Granted, with my particular style, I'm drawing out all of the little details that might end up becoming covered up by the thick black outline. But it's also allowing me to know where I need to put the white highlights to show, okay, there's a difference here. There's this curve here that I want to highlight.
Right.
So I draw those details, and then I do the line art on top of that. Because when I do the line art, I sit there and I tell myself, okay, I'm happy with my sketch. I'm happy to be able to move forward. The line art is now my finalized. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So for you to jump straight in with line art is a power move that is very it's respectable.
Not that I try to do anything like that to be bold. It's just I just did it and just haven't thought about it. So I'll take that compliment and run with it.
Yeah.
Let me clean this up a little bit. I kind of like I like the idea of the cleaner mask now that I'm kind of filtering this down a little bit, and then
and what we could also do to dirty it up is soot.
Yeah, but that'll be a texture thing more than a...
Yeah, like I said, we could dirty it up after the fact of things.
Right, so I'm kind of liking that. That's a little bit better looking.
Yeah.
But honestly, what you're talking about with concepts, let me see if I can find what I did with Bozetto. Yeah. Hold on. Because I did something very similar when I put his design together, and there was like a whole bunch of different iterations that he went through before I finished it. It's, actually, I could also do my Dwarf Forge concept too, because I know he went through at least a couple different rebuilds. Let me see, where is it? Do this one. I'll do this one. There we go, let me pull this up. Like what I did with Bozetto.
Yeah, you're doing the color. Yeah.
So basically, I had to really kind of plan him out when I put him together, and then the alternative color arts down there was essentially like as a kind of like a mismatch model, because it is bits of Arc Beetle D and Saikachi's or Matsubi.
Yeah.
So I'm figuring, okay, cool. So let's try a style of what he looks like if he were colored like Arc Beetle D, and then a style where he were colored like Matsubi. And I didn't quite like where either of those went. And then I did another concept art, that one down the bottom left, where it was basically if they just took all the parts as is, filed them down, didn't bother painting them, and just slapped the arm on it and called it a day. And that's kind of where that popped in from. I'm like, that'd be funny as a meme, but not quite what I'm looking for. And that's why I settled on the second from the middle right one, because it's a very heavy gray concept, very similar to Maquette, but also standing apart as what they did with Maquette as a fusion between Dorcas and, at the time, Tyrell Beetle, since Titan Beetle did not exist at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from with that too, with a lot of concept sketches. I did the same thing. Let me see where I can find him real quick. I don't know why I didn't think of this one sooner. With my combiner concept, Sentai Hero.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and you do a thing that I know other people do that I don't do, is that you draw your like a base layer before you draw the rendered version. I typically go straight into the rendered version, pose set and everything, and I design the character upon onto there, which is that thing that I just learned to go with and everything.
Well, it's kind of funny too, because with my art style, it's a very toony style, because I color with I line with the color respectively of that particular color. Yeah. So like I just use a darker render of the color. So say like if it's green, I'll use a much darker, like a forest green, to help it stand out. And I just try to pay in mind that my shading layers don't blend it too heavily. That actually, it's actually kind of funny how that style came in, because let me double check this real quick. Okay, because a friend of mine that was helping kind of coach me early on too, when I first picked up Clip Studio Paint and worked on it, was I did it one way with the solid black lines, but I also, as you see, work on a fairly thick line, a 10-point black line. But a lot of high-end art typically does not. So they suggested, hey, use colored lines. I'm like, I'm not sure, this, trying something like this. And they're like, no, do it like this. Kind of like in a jovial yelling at me kind of way. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll do it. And I just haven't stopped doing it since.
That's the way it goes sometimes. Your friend will bully you into doing something, and then it sticks. The only time I do, actually, I've got a Metabee here for this. Do colored lines is when I do my big character card art, where I do hyper detailed designs. And looking back at this particular Metabee, I would redo it because I'm not a big fan of it. But
you are your own worst critic.
Absolutely, yeah. But what I typically do is I'll and this is probably the worst way to do it, is I will draw everything with the black outline. Then I would go in and use the what is that tool called in Clip? I gotta open up my own Clip to see what the tool that I use all the time is called, because that's
it's called that tool because you don't pay attention to it.
Yeah. Layer color. Of course, it's the simplest way. Or no, not layer color. No, I use Clip to layer below. Okay. And then I will go through that, and whatever section is a particular color, like for Metabee here, the yellow sections, yellow rivets. After I've rendered it, I will now go back and make sure, grab the darkest version of that, pull it back even further. Then I'll go through and go over every black line of the that I consider that's part of the yellow bits. Now they're going to be a darker, kind of a goldish, more of an orange than a darker yellow, but still, right. I would go through each individual section of that, which for some characters that's easier than others. When I did Doom Guy, that took me a while to do.
Yeah, I can imagine. And the nice thing though is that when you find a style that you like and that you enjoy, you just stick with it.
Yeah,
and it's just something that becomes a unique style to you, and a lot of people will recognize it's your style. So that's just kind of what I've been doing. Sticking with what I know, what I'm used to, and just work around with it.
Yeah. And then sometimes you get a wild hair to change it.
Yeah,
be it, you feel as if you've been stagnated and you want to grow, or you just be like, no, I think today I'm going to draw Studio Trigger style, and then you just do that and it sticks.
Yeah, and then you just draw everything else like that. In fact, actually, that's it actually kind of works out that way too, because I've seen a lot of people do that, where they'll typically spend like a year and draw in a very specific style, and then that'll be like their entire style for that whole year.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people go back and do that in review, like you know, like a year in review. This is what my stuff looked like in 2023. This is my style in 2024. Honestly, it's kind of neat when artists do that, because it's a neat way to tell where you've come from and where you've grown and stuff that you've done to kind of refine the process over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, too, like, you know, if anybody feels like, oh, I don't want to copy somebody's style, I'm going to find my own. How do you think they started getting a style of their own?
Well,
you copy other people's style.
Well, on top of that, too, I'd also like to argue, oftentimes imitation is the best form of flattery.
That too, yes.
So if you say, for instance, you want to draw in the Studio Trigger style, I mean, yeah, great, absolutely. You have a heading and you have something that you want to work towards.
Yeah.
But the general idea is just making sure that you don't like claim the style.
You're not tracing. Yeah. You're not tracing. So, you know, in this day and age, I'll take tracing over AI.
Yes. And even then, the artist community is super brutal when it comes to tracers.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, I've seen so many call-outs all over the place saying, this person traced, don't commission from them. Like, it's like a zero chill kind of thing. And I get it as an artist, you know, it's kind of like an artist pride on the line thing. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things you kind of have to look back on it and just kind of approach it carefully.
Yeah, it's a good way to practice, because when I started out, like, just doodling as a kid, you know, I would occasionally trace something that was hard for me to draw, and then I would go back to it and I would try to draw it without tracing. Now that I understood the parts to it, you know, it's like, okay, you know, I would test myself with it and everything, and then it wasn't until I got much older that I realized that my proportions were terrible. Like, it was awful. Like, they had long arms and short legs. I was bad at it.
So proportions is honestly something that a lot of artists struggle with. So I would, it's one of those things I'd take in stride and just say, listen, everyone struggles with it. I'm not going to freak out over it. It just is what it is.
Yeah, and once, you know, because you're drawing on paper and everything, you don't want to do a lot of erasing, so I'm not doing a lot of skeleton sketches and stuff. And then I started at I got my first tablet and everything, and started drawing on on a tablet, on a program, which I yo-ho-hoed Clip Studio back when it was called Manga Studio.
Right. I was on Medibang for a hot minute too, fairly early on when I started the digital art thing. I'm not sure if that one's actually, no, I think it is still around. I just don't hear much about it.
I asked a friend of mine. It's like, hey, what do you use? So I use Clip Studio. So okay, that's what I'm going to use then. And that's where I've been. I've made my bread here. This is my life. And then eventually I had to get a new computer and everything. And then I broke down and actually bought Clip Studio, and I got it when it's like, okay, yep, you just buy the license and it's there for life. And I'm like,
right,
cool, all right.
Mean, that's the nice thing about it, is it's a license. So once you buy it the first time, you don't have to worry about it again. So I'm not worried about it to the point like that, because it works itself out. It's mostly the ones where you have to pay for a subscription, like a certain big suite program that we shall not name.
Absolutely, yeah.
I've seen all these people posting freeware version of how to do that now since they went to that subscription model. I'm like, listen, honestly, I am all for that, because when I had to take that, work with me. When I had to do it for a college course, and they were teaching me the basics of that, it worked. Like, I understood what they were trying to cover, but even the student program was like, I don't know what it was. It was like $40 a month or something for the student discount. And they were only teaching you how to use like 2 or 3 of the programs at most, so you didn't even need all of them. Because I think one of the early ones that they were trying to cover was Photoshop. But it's nuts. Like, I get it. Like, the pricing for it is so heavy because you're paying for the entirety of the suite. But why would you pay, for a student anyway, who's already struggling with money as it is, why would you pay, like, 50, 60, 40 to 60 a month for something you're only going to use 2 or 3 programs of?
Yeah. It's the same argument of, why would I pay for cable? I'm not watching every channel.
Exactly.
I'm only watching certain things. And
you get 1,000 channels of nothing to watch. Like that's why it's on the decline, because nobody wants to watch it anymore.
Yeah, I don't even have a TV in my room anymore. Like, if I want to watch something, it's usually going to be on YouTube. Particularly, every Tuesday you could always watch, a certain Metabot News Network that comes up. But I'm usually watching on YouTube. If there's some show I want to watch, I've got Disney Plus. I've got Netflix.
It's on a streaming service.
Yeah. I've got Crunchyroll for anime. And if I can't find it on things, and if it's just one show, I'm gonna find a way to watch it one way or another.
Exactly.
Or a friend of mine has it, and I'll we may have a
watch party.
Yeah, watch party. Which I've never watched Venture Bros, and if anybody wants just a fun, dumb laugh that is very much in the era of Hanna-Barbera style animation, but at a bit more crass.
I've heard things about that series. Yeah.
It is a fun watch, especially with friends. It is a fun watch with friends. Because I never watched it, and we started watching it 2 Fridays ago, and every night we just die laughing, and that's a fun time. Watch parties always fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. Not really liking how this is coming out. What about the possibility of doing it like a mitt more than actual like fingers?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. More
like
just
a mitt.
More closed hands. Yeah. You don't need to use the hand much. It's that's for when the hammer strikes the metal.
Exactly. So we'll try a mitt design. Let's do that instead.
Yeah, I think a mitt would work out better. And you could probably what kills me with a Metarot design is that for whatever reason, I think it should be 3 fingers instead of 4.
I think it honestly just kind of is dependent on the artist, because like there's an artist that I follow on Twitter, a Flintlock, who does a lot of Metarot art, but he typically does the 3-finger style. Yeah,
it feels right to me, and it's like, okay, well, yeah. But no, you look at Metabee, he's got 4 fingers. Rokusho, it's really it's more of a standout stylish choice when it's 3 fingers.
It is. Honestly, that's actually what I did with Steam General when I designed him, because if you look at his oversized fist on the left arm, he's got 3 segmented fingers and then the thumb.
Oh, yeah. I'm picturing it in my mind's eye because I've seen it so much. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. I think.
Also, there was a time in which I wasn't much into the one. I didn't realize there was a whole Metabot community. But what really brought me back was the Digimon collab.
Oh yeah, that brought a lot of people in.
Yeah, because I'm a Digimon fan, and I like things in a set of 3. It's a weird quirk of mine. So I look at in my brain the 3 big quote unquote monster catchers.
Mm-hmm.
And my brain has assigned it to obviously 1 and 2 being Pokemon and Digimon, which I don't think anybody's arguing that one.
No,
not
at all.
And then the 3rd for me has always been Metabots. It has always been, that's my 3rd. That is purely the 3rd because Yokai Watch is owned by Nintendo, so it doesn't fit the criteria. And it's also dead. R.I.P. Yokai Watch.
I think they were
Monster
working on that
Rancher
one for the
really didn't
longest
have.
time. I think they were working on that with the longest time too with level 5, because I thought level 5 owned
Yeah.
Yokai Watch.
Let me look
And they
it up.
probably partnered with Nintendo for the games they released.
That might have been the case because I believe it was a heavy DS game.
It was, yeah. They were really
Oh.
heavy on it for the longest time, and I really don't think it took off.
Yeah, level 5. It was popular for a minute. It had some Final Fantasy crossovers, which is very nuts. You trying to recall what it was? I believe in one of the Yokai Watch games, you could get a Jibanyan on a chocobo. I believe it was mainly in Final Fantasy 14, the MMO, that you could get things.
I know about the MMO.
Yeah.
I've got several friends that play it, and I thought about trying it once because I've actually never played a Final Fantasy game at all. The closest I
Really?
ever got to playing one was back in the days of Brave Frontier when that was still around with Square Enix, and they were advertising for Brave Exvius. So that's the closest I ever got, and I rage quit after about 2 months because I got so tired of seeing the same chainsaw wielding character from like Final Fantasy. I don't even remember which game it was. I think it was like 4 or 5. I think I got him like
Probably,
I got him like 8 separate times over the course of 2 months, and I'm like, yeah, not happening again. But the only reason I went through with it was because they had the collaboration with Brave Frontier. And they had the 3 main characters as units that could be pulled. So I'm like, okay, cool. I like how these characters behave. Let's try them out in their game. And I quit after like 2 months. I rage quit. Their gacha mechanics were just obscene. A lot of people joke around saying FGO was so bad, and I've heard the horror stories, but this one was just obscene.
Square doesn't have a great track record when it comes to mobile gacha games. They I believe, because there is the general consensus is that the average gacha game, a gacha mobile game, lasts about 3 years.
Yes, that's about right.
Certain, with a certain fighting robots one surpassing that one, being
which is honestly shocking because again we've had that discussion several times in the Meta S channel. It's amazing that it's made this long because normally gacha games only have a life cycle of about 3 years, 4 maybe if it was something that was enjoyed and had a good reception to it. But the fact that this one had lasted going on 5.5 years now actually is just crazy.
Yeah, and it's the collaborations are insane that they're pulling. I mean, okay, yeah, Transformers crossover with everything. That is a very funny bit in the Transformers.
Well, they also had to do Godzilla because Big G was celebrating 70 years, so everybody was collaborating with Big G.
Yeah, because Godzilla was doing one, or Digimon is doing one with them right now too, and it's just so very fun for me.
Transformers was also doing one with them too, where they released a limited model, but albeit I really wouldn't count it because, being completely honest, that model was the model for the Godzilla was basically just a reskin Grimlock.
Yeah.
So it's
that was a very quick one. Yeah.
It's not anything like impressive at all.
Yeah. Whereas the Digimon crossover with them, it's a, yes, it is a what they call it, a G cell infused Greymon line.
Right.
But it's word to the warning, it's got some body horror to it, right? It's they went all out for it, and it's really, really fantastic and cool to me because they have done. It's very similar to how Yu-Gi-Oh has a lot of references to everything. There's a lot of references in Digimon, just like there's a lot of references in Metabots. But like there is a particular Digimon that they came out, I want to say either early this year, no, it was probably late last year, called Dinomon. And you look at it and just go, that's Godzilla. It's very much the Tyranitar. That's it, right? Yeah, Tyranitar is the one that kind of looks like Godzilla. Yeah,
Yep, and then they released, in Gen 8, they released Duraludon as like the new official quote unquote Mecha Godzilla,
Yeah.
and everyone just
Yeah.
took the meme and ran with it.
Yeah, and you know, Digimon did. You know, there's funny overlaps when that happens of just like similar concepts and everything that I just personally love. And you know, and then they come out. We're like, yep, nope, we've decided to cross over with with Godzilla. Here's the Godzilla stuff because they recently just came off the end of a Monster Hunter crossover.
Yes,
and
actually Transformers was also hitting a really big milestone this year too. I think it was like 40 years. I think it was. I think it was 40 years for Transformers, and they've been collaborating. Godzilla was one. They had a Zoids collaboration that they're talking about right now, where they're releasing they're releasing a Blade Liger as a Prime. I think it's just called like Liger Prime or something.
Oh, that's gonna be so cool. I
look it up real quick and check it out. It's actually the model itself is kind of neat, but then you look at the price tag.
Well, I'm a poor boy from a poor family. I'm not gonna. I look at things from the side.
A better idea.
Oh yeah. So that's custom ones. Hasbro Pulse. Yeah. Transformers.
Yeah, it's part of their Synergex.
Tara. Yeah. Synergex. Yeah. Oh, because I grew up.
Zoids, I think, is also getting. I think
Zoids,
Zoids in general is hitting an anniversary this year too, so they're stretching out some.
Yeah, God, that looks insane. I don't have $300. Hey, Kuura, you got $300? You can spot me real quick.
No, unfortunately, my amount of funds is about as dried up as most other folks. There was a long time through this last year and a half where I was hoping and praying I would even have enough just to cover my car bill every month. So
God, you're telling me. I recently had to get I say recently, it's been about a year now, but I had to get a new card because mine was it was shutting itself off in the middle of traffic. So it was time to trade that one in. Thankfully, my my credit has been very good. I don't. Every time someone has told me get multiple credit cards, it'll help your credit go up faster.
I have literally one credit card, and I've used it only once. That's only because they threatened to shut it off.
Here's a tip. This is what keeps my credit score up in the 700s and 800s, right? Use it for gas.
Yeah, you could also use it to buy yourself lunch every now and then.
Yeah. Like I said, I use it exclusively to get gas. I go,
and then just pay it back when in the next couple days before the due date.
Yeah. I have it on auto pay, so it just automatically pays it off and everything. Because you're supposed to keep a little bit on there because that's paying off your credit. Yeah. Because I've got a medical one, care credit that I just need to pay it off, and I know my credit's going to take a hit, but I despise having things to pay on, so it's like I'll just take the hit and go back down to one, because I got I got some funds that are coming in that's going to cover that.
Honestly, the idea of credit like that and what they're allowed to charge for that is absolutely nuts. Like,
It's nuts,
it's honestly crazy. Like when I got my card, it's I'm gonna trace this real quick just to figure out where these lines go. It's crazy. Like when I got my card, they said, yeah, you qualified for this amount of credit, and the interest on it was like almost 30%. I'm like, bro, you are clearly out of your mind if you think I'm going to be using this to pay on stuff when I have to basically pay it back plus 30%. To make anything happen
within the month. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm like, bro, that is not happening. So the card literally just sits in my desk, it sits in my dresser. And last year I got an alert from it and says, "Hey, we noticed you weren't using your card. So if you don't, if we don't see any activity on it by this date or this time, then we're just going to shut it off because we assume you don't want it." So I was suggested by the folks, listen, just buy yourself lunch with it one day and just pay it back the next couple of days so you can keep the card, because it's one of those better to have it than not kind of things. So
absolutely,
I did, but that's literally what I did. So if they send me another letter like that saying, "Hey, we noticed there's not no activity except for that one time you bought lunch a year and a half ago. I hope you're alive still." I'm just gonna do the same thing for like $2 or $3 and then just call it, because that's nuts, honestly. Because
Yeah.
I mean, even like my car payment, which I got stupidly lucky on, by the way, when I got that. They were running a special for, you know, for new car owners for a 0% interest. So when I finish paying my car off, it's mine. So that's gonna make things a whole lot easier. But when they first ran it, when they ran it the first time, it was going to be like, I don't know what it was. Well, like, it was like almost 2%, like not even 2%, which was still pretty good. And they ran it again and found it was lower because I wanted to have a 5-year plan and not a 7-year. So then I go to the back and they're working on everything. And they say, okay, cool. So you're looking at this payment for this amount of months at 0%, and we're like, hold on a second. What do you mean 0%? I thought the guy told us it was like 1.1 something. And he's like, oh no, I don't think the rep got the memo that day. But new car owners were getting a 0% interest on new vehicles. So I'm like, all right, cool, that works out. And then like 3 or 4 months ago, I get a call from Ford saying, oh, we have a question about your vehicle. I'm thinking, oh, it must be something important like a part recall, which I've been waiting on. And they say, no, we've noticed that your type of car is currently in high demand. Would you be interested in trading it in for a premium credit towards something else? I'm like, yeah, no, not happening. Yeah. Because the second I do that, I'm losing my 0% interest, and I think you guys are upset over that. So I told him kindly, no, I plan to keep the car when I'm done with it. Thank you, but thank you for reaching out. Like, all right, I appreciate it. Bye. And then they hung up on me. But it's crazy what they're allowed to charge for credit cards like that. Like 30%, 20% interest, and it only goes down after you've been with them for like 3-4 years at least. It's kind of crazy what they charge for that sometimes. Okay.
Yeah, and then they go like, oh, since you bought it, with the car, it's like, okay, since you bought it, you get like 4 free oil changes, and I'm sitting there, it's like, as far as I'm concerned, you're dealing with this. I work in I work in heating and air and everything, so I have to deal with warranty stuff,
right?
Occasionally, like I cover for our dispatcher, which is. Talking with customers is fun.
Oh yeah.
Especially with
I have
it is currently 82 degrees outside right now.
Oh yeah, I have almost a decade in customer service and 3 in sales as a sales lead, so I know 100% where you're coming from.
Yeah. But having to, like being on that side of like, okay, this is when your warranty is ended. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do. This is going to be how much it can charge here and everything.
Right.
It's like, that should be. It's like, unfortunately, that was the contract you signed when you bought it. I'm sorry, but that's it.
What I usually told people when I had to put insurance on people's phones was because honestly it got kind of crazy too. But it's one of those things where it's better to have it than not, even if you never use it. Because the second you take it off, Murphy's Law is going to come in and you're going to break your phone.
Absolutely,
without fail. As a great example of that, while I'm trying to figure out what to do with this other arm.
I'm trying to think too.
I'm thinking like a built-in furnace cannon or something, but
maybe.
I'm trying to mentally construct that. But so the story that was told to me when I first got hired over at the phone place, my boss was telling me, and this was when the 12s were still out. They said that he had a coworker that was working with an older lady that came in, and she said I was looking to upgrade my phone. So we're like, all right, cool. So let's go through the process. Rung out the phone, was processing it through the system, and they got to the point where they want to put insurance on the phone. And I'll be completely honest, with iPhones or any kind of Apple device, I almost always put it on period, because those suckers are expensive, unnecessarily. Yeah. I always put it on no matter what. But she said, no, I don't need it, I take good care of my phones. So usually the rule that we were instructed to follow was rule of 3s. So they said, are you sure? Because it does cover this, that, and the other. So if anything happens, we can help you take care of it. And she's like, no, I don't need it. Refused up, down, left, right, inside, out. Don't need it, don't want it, I take care of my phone. Rule of 3s. Okay.
Yep.
So so just making sure we did our part, we will take it off. And begrudgingly, because that was part of our commission structure, was what we put insurance on. So they processed everything out, rung out the phone, moved all our stuff over. And they're like, all right, well, I think that just basically covers everything. So any other questions? She's like, no, I think I got everything here. All my photos are here. Thank you so much. So she goes and she turns and leaves. 3 steps out the front door, phone meets concrete.
I'd do it.
So at that point, everyone just held their hands up and says, listen, we can't help you because you officially left the store property. So
Yeah.
we can suggest that you take it to somewhere else and just hope and pray that they'll work with you. But legally, there is nothing we can do to help you now.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So,
like a
After I heard that and enough horror stories about insurance and things like that, I'm like, listen, I'm just not going to take the chance whenever I'm working with somebody. So my usual go-to when I had to talk to people about insurance was I would tell them, listen, what you can do, because the phone is new and it is a new purchase, is take the insurance and have it for 6 months, because at that point it's cleared our commission criteria cutoff. Because if someone took insurance off before a cutoff, we got docked for it, and it came out of our commission pay. So it stayed outside of there as long as they made their payments on time. And I would tell them, give it 6 months. If you decide after 6 months you no longer need the insurance, then you can call in, and customer care will take it off in about 2 minutes. Not a big deal. And then it's just 18 something bucks off your bill. And they were usually pretty chill with that idea. They usually didn't mind it that much. But at that point, it not only covered my butt, because I'd still be paid at some point for it, assuming they paid their bill on time. And it guaranteed that if anything happened within that preliminary 6 months, they could come in and we'd be able to help them. Because there are so many instances that we had to put up with of people that did not have insurance on phones, or took it off recently, and then legally there's nothing we can do to help them. And it sucks, honestly, because, you want to be there to do what you can, but at that point, your hands are tied. There's really nothing you can do.
Yeah, nothing hurts me more, 'cause we have a like a 1-year warranty, right?
Okay, yeah.
So it's like, okay, after 1 year, it's going to cost us money to come out there and take a look, and unfortunately, we have to get to our warranty customers first, so you're going to be scheduled out a little bit further.
Lower priority.
Yeah. So and nothing hurts me worse when it's like a elderly person.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, it's like and what I typically tell people when you move in, and everyone will make a note of this: if you move into a new home, right, that is newly constructed, right, register your equipment, because every manufacturer that I have worked with in the past 10 years in the business has
that's impressive tenure.
Yeah, I'm so tired. But for every manufacturer of the equipment, you have a 5-year warranty by default.
Yes.
If you register it, you get a 10-year.
I told folks the same thing too when they got Samsung devices. Samsung offers a 1-year manufacturer's warranty, like just no question. Like no questions asked. Like they offer 1-year warranty on all products no matter what. And I would tell people that, I says, listen, if anything happens to the phone, aside from insurance for whatever reason, Samsung does have a 1-year warranty, and you can take it to Samsung, and they're usually pretty good on helping you figure it out. Usually. That's keyword, usually.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you gotta really pay attention to that, because insurance is one of those things where you either use it and it really comes in handy about 10% of the time. Maybe. Yeah. Even less than that if you take good care of yourself.
Yeah, and if you're unlucky, all your stuff runs out
the day before.
Right before,
Actually,
right before.
It's actually kind of crazy, because I had something similar to that just recently, actually. And it's likely just because it's just been so hot and everything and everywhere, but I had an alert on my car, because I have an app that kind of helps me keep track of everything. It's so nice, honestly. I can even auto-start my car from it sometimes. It's so nice. But it told me that there was a check engine light on there. And I'm like, huh, okay, that's weird. So I go to look at it, and yeah, it says get it serviced here real soon. So I text my dad and say, hey, I just noticed this alert. I don't know what's going on with it, but it's something that we can look at. And he's like, listen, don't drive it right now, because if something like your coolant or your antifreeze is out, we gotta replace that here real quick so you don't break anything or destroy it. So we're like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
So he drove over, and we looked at it, and my coolant reservoir was full. Completely full. No leaks, no holes, no nothing. It's a completely full reservoir. And for context, my car is in basically pristine condition. I've had it for like 3 years, and I just in the last couple months broke 16k miles. I don't go anywhere. It is in it's in as pristine condition as a 3-year-old car is gonna get. So I figured it was really weird when I got this alert. So we're scratching our heads going, okay, that's kind of weird. So he's like, all right, just keep an eye on it, and if anything changes, take it in and get serviced. So I noticed the light one other time after keeping an eye on it, and had the quick lane, took it over to quick lane to look at it. And the biggest worry I had was if insurance warranty was going to cover it, because I bought and I'm paying for the extended warranty, so I get the whole bumper to bumper on there. And they're giving me this whole thing of like, well, we're not 100% sure because if it's not covered by warranty, the diagnostic alone is gonna be like $240. And I'm like, as much as I really don't want to cover that, and I mean, I can swing it. I'll just have to tighten the belt for like a couple weeks. I can do it. I'm like, all right, it's better safe than sorry, just to make sure that I'm covered. Like the car is okay, and I'm not gonna like break down in the middle of nowhere or something. So I went through it. So I did. And I got it back recently. They called, and it only just figures that they called me like 10 minutes after I clocked into work. Luckily, what I do, it's super quiet, so it wasn't like a really big deal, but it just figures. And they said, yeah, it's covered by the powertrain, so you're good to go. Didn't cost you anything, so just come on and pick up your car. So, honestly, it's one of those things where it's nice to have, but again, if you take care of yourself and you take care of it, you're only going to use it like not even 10% of the time.
Yeah. And you know, of course, you know, accidents also just do happen.
And the one time you take it off is the time that it's going to happen.
Exactly, yeah. Especially with, you know, you're taking effect of like the weather being so.
So that's what I was figuring, because they said, yeah, it was just
right,
and they literally said the same thing. It says, yeah, it's just a sensor that wore out, so we just replaced the sensor. In fact, actually, because my dad was the one who went and picked it up for me because I was at work. He said, they're actually having a. He said, you know about the part recalls, right? I'm like, yeah, they've sent me letters about them, and I've just been waiting for them to tell me they had the parts in, because I've been waiting like a year and a half on one of them, and they've still yet to actually tell me they had the parts in, and even the service tech said, yeah, we're still waiting on them to get in, so don't worry about it. So I'm not worrying about it. But he said, yeah, there's apparently a big thing going right now with I think they said it was a timing belt or something within the engine, and they said that if they don't figure out what exactly is going on with it by a certain deadline, they're just going to replace the entire engine for free.
Oh.
And I'm like, that's actually that's actually pretty solid. But I'm like, listen, my car's like, again, in nearly pristine condition for a 3-year-old car. I don't go anywhere with it, so it has hardly any wear. I just don't think I'd end up using it. I'm like, darn, that's a real shame. I'd have to let that come and go. Because engine replacements are like super expensive.
Oh yeah. If you need to get your engine replaced, you might as well just get a new car.
Yeah, exactly. So that's when they said, yeah, they're just going to replace the engine. I'm like, huh, interesting. So I don't know. I'll have to see what happens in the next few weeks and see what happens. But I'm not counting on much.
Yeah. You just gotta hope you don't break down nowhere. That's really the biggest kicker.
Oh yeah. Because if you break down somewhere, you're hosed.
Oh, yeah.
Grab these real quick and move this over.
Yeah. Your canvas is quickly shrinking before your eyes.
Oh, it's going to expand a little bit bigger when I get the regular art done. I just ran out of space on this side.
I've also been sitting here thinking about colors.
I've been thinking a lot of like grays and blacks.
Yeah,
maybe like an actual like brick, like red brick.
Yep. I was thinking very much the same. Going with that. I call it the Shadow of the Hedgehog scheme.
I can see it. I was thinking maybe like a brown mitt, like a brown canvas on the right arm.
Oh yeah, brown can work. Yeah.
But not like a tan or like a leather gray, but like a dirt brown.
Yeah. And I've come across a fun name when we get to that point.
Oh, please hit me with it, because that's usually the toughest part of these guest collabs is trying to figure out
I love naming things. Every weapon including the one I drew. Well, technically it's a legendary Saturday, so it doesn't count. So I'll do the next one. But my, the 3,243 weapons I've drawn, every one of them has a name.
That's
I
impressive,
love naming
honestly.
things.
So
Every good weapon needs a name.
Yeah, so obviously, as any good smithy would tell you, you have to make that bond with your stuff.
Yeah. Fornax. It's the Latin word for oven, and it feels like a if you fired up an MMO or an RPG and you entered an area and a boss's name was Fornax. It has that heavy. It almost makes me think of the the big Cyclopses from Zelda.
The Hinox?
The Ornox. Yeah, Hinox. Yeah. It has a similar like heavy tone to it.
Okay, I can see that. And spell it for me.
Forrnax.
Fornax. Okay, let me see here.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm gonna pull up Detail real quick and take a brief intermission and see what's going on here.
Yeah.
Because the biggest catch when it comes to the naming conventions is when translated back into Japanese, it needs to be.
You're right.
It needs to be 8 characters or less.
You're right. It may not fit.
Fornax. It looks like it's between 6 and 7, maximum of 8, so it could work.
Okay. That's a good point. I had not thought about that.
So let me try some other ideas now we got here. So let's do...
Yeah.
Let me try some ideas here and just see what comes up.
Yeah.
I'm doing a brief intermission for names. Fun.
Because I had... Because that's actually how we got the name of a furnace is from Fornax, because it's from there. Let me look up some terms for a boiler. See if there's something. Oh, hey, boilersmith, a craftsman skilled in the techniques required for construction and repair of boilers.
I have an idea for some naming conventions. Let me see if I can cook these up real quick, and I'll see what we can do with them.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I just have to figure out something for the legs. I have an idea. I'm cooking, Chad. I'm cooking. Let me think.
We're boiling over here.
Let me think. Try. Okay, we'll try that. So what I'm thinking of for the part names, because it looks like they're all fitting, is Forge Mask, Smithy Mitt, Brick Oven, and Heavy Boot.
Ooh, I like those. I really like Brick Oven too. That one I think is the standout. But yeah, Heavy Boot for yeah.
So we'll do that.
I like
so
those.
I'll hold on to those. And then,
Yeah.
Actually, what I'll do is I'm going to send those to you as well, just so you have them.
Yeah, just so that way it's here. Yeah, I like I like naming things. They're fun.
And those are in order.
It's also very funny because that is a similar way on how you would name a Keyblade, is that you want it to be about 8 syllables long, or under 8 syllables. Is typically the way it is. You don't want something to be too long.
Right.
So usually when I'm making one and I come up with a name, I sit there and I go, okay, how long is this going to be? And I just say the word out loud, counting on my fingers, and be like, nope, it's too long. Gotta change it up.
Yep.
But a fun thing with those is that they are also typically named after what's important for it. Sometimes it's with the Disney movie, it's maybe it's the song name, or or even it could just be as simple as like there's a Monsters Inc. one that is it's all very industrial, almost thematically here, but it's
Uh-huh.
called Smile Gear
Okay.
because because during the time in which the game takes place, this is after the movie,
Right.
so they're not scaring anybody anymore.
They're laughing.
So it's
Yeah.
yeah. So it's taking that plus the gear motif, and that's just the name of it. So it's very very short with it. It's just it's very funny that that is how you do your name, how the naming conventions for Metabots work, and then there's
Well, the thing to mention
a very
with how Metarod does a lot of names is kind of ties back into how into the Japanese alphabets with katakana, hiragana, and kanji. And
Yeah.
the way the alphabets behave is each one has a purpose and each one has a type, and they have very specific rules. And in any casual written conversation in Japanese, you will use all three of them very casually. So
Yeah.
ultimately, how that translates is katakana is typically used for foreign words or for words that don't conventionally have a Japanese counterpart in most typical formats.
Loan words,
Weird, strange
typically,
words, foreign words.
Yeah. A name, like Clark would be written in katakana.
Right. Or in my case, I typed my name, Isigami Kuura, in katakana because it's a foreign name. It's not something that's very conventional in Japanese writing. Most of the time, because it would, under most circumstances, be considered as Ishigami, because there really isn't a sa character that is used.
That's right. Yeah, I remember. I know a little bit of how Japanese words are structured from back in the day. I used to get Shonen Jumps all the time, and there was an issue of that it was they had Naruto in it. And they had a whole section of here's how you would write your name.
In Japanese.
In Japanese, and I absorbed that knowledge and everything.
I would like to formally learn Japanese properly, but I just never really had the chance to. So I picked up bits and pieces of it, at least bits and pieces of katakana, thanks to what I do with the weekly news on Metarod. But it's still fairly, it's still a fairly heavy endeavor. So it's something I want to sit down and actually learn proper. I just need to arrange the time to do it. I don't know, maybe I'll do it as a stream or something. I've seen a lot of streamers do that. I was like, let's learn Japanese or something. But, is they typically use katakana for foreign words. And the thing about Metarod is a lot of the names are considered foreign words or unconventional because there really is not a dedicated counterpart. For instance, Metabi, as a great example. It's really just a contraction of metal beetle. So realistically, it's literally just a contraction of those two words. Warbonnets, as another great example. I'm trying to think of another one. Sentai Hero, as one of my Orimedas, is the same thing.
Yeah.
There are words for it that exist, but for standard naming conventions, it's easier to use katakana.
Yeah. And also, it's also a sake of uniformity across the board.
Yes.
It makes me think of like going back to Metabi. A fun thing I love about how Japanese do nicknames is that usually, like over here in the West, you meet someone named trying not to pick a weird one, and all I'm thinking is the weird ones like Richard and William. But you go up to Samantha and you shorten it to Sam, right?
Right.
We shorten the words, whereas they take sometimes the part of their the first name and last name, put them together. Like a good example that I can come up with is from Little Witch Academia. Which, if you haven't seen that is an adorable.
Heard good things.
Adorable
yes.
ones. Yeah. It's absolutely adorable. The main character's nickname that she goes by is Akko. I believe her. Let me. Little Witch Academia Wiki Ako. At Atsuko Kagari, and Ako.
Yeah.
And Dandadan, the main character, one of the main
Okarun,
characters in
yeah.
that, is Okarun, which is a cult coon pushed together.
I could see it.
And
Yeah.
it's fun to me. I love stuff like that because it's more of a portmanteau as opposed to a nickname, and I think it's a little bit more unique than a Sam, and a Sam or a
Yeah.
Can't think of another one here. But we also have weird ones like Hank and Henry, Bill and William. I looked those up at one point in time, and it's just sometimes that's how the letter looked if it was from a different country, and then
Right.
it just devolved, or not devolved from there, but went from there. It's very much a case of etymology is such a fun way to see how things evolved and changed from there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And going back to meta routes with this, I always found it fun that as we know Metabe from, but Rokusho came from Head Scissors, and it went in
Yeah.
a very different direction in a very fun way in my mind.
Yes. And being completely honest, I understand, with contractions or things like that, or they want to give a unique name to a character for thematic reasons. I understand it. But I kind of have to wonder, and I joke around with this a lot, I have to wonder what exactly was going through the English dubbing team's minds when they were dubbing a lot of those names properly with EN names.
Dave?
See, that one makes sense. That one makes that one makes thematic sense. So
I know. I just love Dave.
Right. It's just Dave. Nothing different. It's just Dave. And it just converted to Spectre. I'm like, okay, that one makes sense though, because there's a thematic inspiration of why it's named like that. I get it. But then you have, for instance, like Totalizer or Dr. Bok Choy. And a lot of people like to theorize Bok Choy probably came from his model ID, BOK, but a lot of the names just don't make sense. Like, where did you get this from, or where did you translate it from? Like, where exactly was the motivation? So that's honestly
or infamously Snowbro.
Yes, especially like the biggest thing I chalk it up to, and this is just me trying to mentally justify it while I'm kind of reflecting on this, is it was also from an early point where the U.S. and the Western community wasn't as receptive, I guess I can say, with a lot of direct translations or dubbings. I mean, look, for instance, Brock's Jelly Donut is a great example. It was just from a different era, so they didn't have the opportunity to do that because they didn't think it would be received. But see, in today's current society, that's a non-issue. Like we have people wanting to casually learn Japanese just because they can. So things like that or localization isn't really that big of a deal. But at that point, trying to make the show appeal to a bunch of 10-year-olds or younger, they gotta think of names that are a little easier to understand. And I get it. There's a handful of names that are kind of funny or weird to pronounce, but there's a handful of them that really just didn't make sense why they changed it. Like, for instance, Bok Choy is Dr. Study. It's, to me anyway, it's not that hard. Crosser Dog is Blues Dog, or Cyan Dog, as part of the original line. What's another one? Multicolor is Seven Colors. Like, or Stingray was Rollstar.
Yeah.
They're fairly simple names, but some of them just didn't make a lot of sense why they decided to change them.
Yeah, it is very curious. Like, you have to wonder, it's like, did they just have a bad translator, right? Did they have somebody who thought they knew Japanese and they weren't quite there yet, That's
what I'm wondering.
It would, to be a fly on the wall back in the day would be fantastic.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And of course, for other things, it makes sense for translations because we had stuff like thinking back to like old anime of like Yu-Gi-Oh, where I believe Yugi was the only character whose name was his original Japanese still,
Right.
because he was the name on the
Yeah,
show.
it was the name of the show. What are they gonna do? Rename the show to Bob?
They would. Don't tempt them. But
Yeah.
we had Joey Wheeler, Tristan, Tia. I know those names because I watched them, but I couldn't tell you their Japanese names.
Right.
And then we same thing with Pokemon. Ash was Satoshi.
Uh-huh.
I believe Brock was something else. I think Misty was always Misty. But it's like they would change it for a simpler thing. Same thing with Digimon, but they did it in a much different way. They just they didn't change the last names. All their last names were the same, but they did give them more like nicknames from their full Japanese name.
They tried to reference it.
Yeah. So the best example is what we know as Matt over here, who had the Gabumon Garurumon line. In Japan, his name is Yamato.
Okay.
So they took Matt from there.
Right, but see, that makes sense.
Yeah. They did it in a very
very creative approach.
Clean, a very creative and a very clean way of like, okay, this is their name. They're going to retain their identity, but we're going to simplify it, for an American audience, particularly
right.
Children for it and everything.
It was a product of its time, essentially.
Yeah,
and it just
and of course
happened
it's
to have
stuck.
worked out.
Yeah. And of course it's stuck. Even to this day, that's how a lot of people, recognize the original Digidestined, and terms like that, right? Digidestined was not a term in.
No, it was it was a product of localization.
Yeah, because it was the Chosen Children is what it was originally.
So they had to make it stand out and make it something catchy and flashy for a Western audience.
Yeah, and it's fine. It drew me in. I'm not, I love Digimon. Yeah, we got a new game coming out. This is the year of Digimon. I'm rock and rolling. And the next year's going to be year of Metabots. We're going to have Metabots over here, I promise you.
Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed anyway. I'm going to report on it anyway, but
Yeah, one way or another.
Now, if they release a game on the Switch too, then I'm going to have problems because I'm kind of holding off on that until they get everything sorted.
I picked up a Switch 2 not too long ago. I played Mario Kart Fun. That's
I've
what
heard
I
good
got.
things. I've heard good things about the new Mario Kart.
I'm excited about the new Donkey Kong game. It looks fun.
It does look it does look pretty promising because it looks like it's kind of going back to its roots a little bit.
So it's made by the same people who because used to be that the 3D and the 2D Donkey Kong games were borrowed from the original style Donkey Kong. You're climbing up the girders and everything.
Yeah,
they were outsourced. Rare made the original Donkey Kong Country and the Donkey Kong 64, which greatly gave us the identity of Donkey Kong now.
Okay.
And it wasn't until Retro Studios that when we had Donkey Kong Country Returns, this is the first time in which this is an internal Nintendo team working on Metabots. I was looking at a
Donkey
Metabot.
Kong.
A Donkey Kong. God, that would be insane. But no, this is the first time an internal team is working on them. And this is the same team who's done did Odyssey. This is Nintendo's big money team, because this is they did Odyssey, they did Mario Kart World.
So they're doing it in-house essentially.
Yes, and this is their like golden ticket team.
Okay.
So
it's
they
already
are
got
really
a pretty good
working
studio behind it.
Yes, yeah.
Did you hear apparently that I've been seeing articles floating around about it that Monolith Soft is apparently putting out job applications for a quote-unquote really big project?
Really?
I
haven't heard about that.
It's been in the news for a while now, for a couple days now, but apparently they said that people noticed job applications for Monolith Soft for quote unquote a very big, very exciting project. But if it's going to be Monolith Soft, you already know it's going to be a pretty big banger.
Yeah, that'd be nuts.
So I don't know. We'll have to keep an ear to the ground on that one, see what happens.
Yeah. This
So
has
let me
already been a very full year for games. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, so let me ask you this on the topic of Donkey Kong, since you said you're looking forward
Mm-hmm.
to it. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts, because I've heard a lot of mixed opinions, what are your thoughts on the redesign of Donkey Kong?
When I first saw it, I wasn't a fan because it looks a lot like his movie design. And in the movie, he was voiced by Seth Rogen, and I'm not a big fan of Seth Rogen.
Yeah,
so
I
it
can
was from that
understand
spot. But as time has gone on, I have grown to appreciate it because it's just his face that's really good design. His fur's gotten a little bit more detailed than everything. Like it feels, just the next stage for the rest of his body.
Yeah.
His head, is definitely
More realistic.
redesigned.
Well,
And
not
it's,
realistic, but higher res.
Yeah, yeah. But I've came to appreciate the cartoonish and more expressive nature of it all and everything, and I feel like it's a good new direction of things.
Yeah.
It very much,
So I
'cause
heard,
Nintendo-
so I heard
Go
one of the
ahead.
big rumors with it too. One of the big reasons why they redesigned Donkey Kong is because apparently the original design was still owned. Was it by Rare? So they were trying to go back to the original design that Nintendo owned, or it was something along those lines.
So that seems to be the misconception of the year with it because Rare owns nothing regarding Donkey Kong.
Gotcha. Okay.
They don't own anything. What they did own is the things that they made themselves: Banjo-Kazooie, Conker, that
Right.
stuff. Nintendo had a chokehold on everything Donkey Kong related.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um,
I just remember hearing stuff.
yeah.
I just remember hearing about it for a while. That apparently that was one reason why they had to redesign it, because apparently someone else owned or contributed to the original design, and they wanted to keep it exclusive or something.
See, and that's the thing though, is that they've been using that design in every game that Donkey Kong has shown up in.
I see.
And another example is that with the Donkey Kong Returns games that Retro Studios worked on, they used the same Donkey Kong design. I
Okay.
think this is just more so. It feels like we're in an era now that Nintendo is retooling all of their games, right?
Facelifts.
We've got a whole new vibe with Mario.
Right.
They've softened his design and wonder and everything. They've done some slight adjustments. We have a new voice actor for the first time in God only knows how many years. With
Yeah.
Charles Martinet is retired from that. Link, obviously, the entire Legend of Zelda really got a facelift with the Breath and Tears of the Kingdom designs.
Oh yeah, and especially since they hinted that this is essentially going to be a new standard going forward. So
Yeah,
that's honestly,
yeah.
that's actually
and-
one reason why I
yeah.
was so lenient. Well, I'm not gonna say lenient. That's not exactly the term to use, but check something here real quick. There we go. That's actually one reason why a lot of people, when they were so critical of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, actually I was lenient with Pokemon Sword and Shield in the same manner. The argument that I used, and it was kind of hit and miss with people, but then again, if I do that, a lot of people say, "Oh, you're just defending Nintendo because you grew up with it." Well, yeah, obviously I did.
Yeah. I'm
The
a
big
Nintendo
argument,
defender.
the big argument that I provided to it, and that made the most sense to me. Actually, I like it this darker color better.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Is excuse me.
Don't let me be the guest that kills you, Kuura.
Yeah.
Let's not have that.
Yeah, saliva went down the wrong pipe. I'm so sorry. But
You're fine.
essentially, they really weren't using those games to be groundbreaking, much like, say, Pokemon Oris was, or Sun and Moon,
Yeah.
or Black 2, White 2. They were using it as a way to break barriers. They wanted to basically pave the way for something new as a testing ground to see if it worked, and if it did, they'd be able to expand upon it. So, like when Sword and Shield came out, the big selling point was the wild area, being able to run around in an open world and actually see Pokemon running around, spawning, despawning, and kind of figure out which ones you want to go after and avoiding the tall grass without having to sit through endless random encounters because who knows why. So a lot of people harp on Sword and Shield because, oh, it looked half-baked, or it was using N64 textures, whatever arguments that they want to use for it. And I get it. Yeah, the textures are kind of low-res, and they probably could have done a little bit better on some of the rendering. I get it. But, at the same time, that wasn't the big focal point. The big focal point was seeing if they could pull off an open world as a proof of concept and see how the community reacted and how the mechanics behaved once it was officially released. And it was very obvious, as evident by Scarlet Violet, that it worked. It proved, albeit in a rudimentary way, that a lot of people really did like the open world exploration style that they experimented with Sword and Shield. So, will I say Sword and Shield was the best thing ever, period? No, obviously not. It had its flaws, and obviously all the flaws that have been with Scarlet Violet, albeit supposedly it said that the Switch 2 upgrades fixed about half of those.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
Right, I've heard about it. It's not really about the graphics or anything like that. It's more along the case of they're using it as a way to break barriers, and they're testing new stuff. So, at the cost of that, you can't have a fully finished and furnished product ready to go right outside the gate, because you're testing new things. You don't know if it's going to work, and that's not where your priority is. So, of course, your game is, that you're testing something with, such as Scarlet Violet with the whole much larger wild area, open world, it's not going to be as high res, it's not going to be 4K resolution, it may not have the greatest story on planet Earth, because that's not what they're focusing on. They're trying something new with a different facet, and it just is going to suffer for it, because they just didn't focus on it as heavily. But a lot of people argue, oh, you're just coping, or whatever the case may be, and I'm not denying that, Nintendo has gotten a little sloppy in the last couple of years. I won't deny it, because it is true. They have been dropping the ball on a handful of things, and it is starting to show. But at the same time, I'm not a believer of wanting to basically reap the hot coals over their head just because something didn't come out the way someone else liked, or it wasn't a perfect, groundbreaking 10 out of 10 game that year. I'm not a believer of that. And being very mechanically minded and enjoying the process of what goes into game dev and 3D modeling and animation, there's a lot that goes into it. So a lot of people say, oh, they're lazy for reusing the models. I mean, if you want to remake 1,000 models of Pokemon from scratch and not be paid by it and not be paid by Game Freak for it, then you be my guest. You are more than welcome to do that. Yeah. But is it considered lazy if it's a really big studio like Game Freak? I could see people arguing it. But at the same time, if they have assets that are still in good condition, they're not broken or worn out or out of date, they're going to use them. Of course you're going to.
They're not pulling the Pokemon Stadium model for
obviously not.
Here. They're using it. And that's the thing for me, like, the reason why I don't play the Pokemon games isn't because, I think they've gotten lazy or anything. It's because, for me, I feel like I've gotten the full Pokemon experience that everyone else has had, and I played Emeralds, and that was good enough for me. I played Emerald, Coliseum, and XD Gale of Darkness, and I wanted more games like Coliseum and XD Gale of Darkness.
And you're definitely not, and you're not alone in that either. They've only explored that like once or twice, and then never again. We need Minor B back. Let's be real. Absolutely.
Your theme song's in my head now.
You're welcome.
For me, the repetitiveness of it was where it's like, okay, I'm no longer interested in this franchise of playing it. I'll take a look at the new Pokemon and have opinions on that. But other than that, I'm not really.
You play the formula, you know it, and it's just kind of cookie cutter.
Yeah, and then now we have Scarlet and Violet walk into the scene. Yes, it was a buggy mess. Yes, it probably should have been left in the oven a little bit longer, because
Yeah,
releasing the game every year
it was
is
definitely
not a
quite
good
half
idea.
baked. It was
Yeah,
definitely very half baked. If they gave it at
yeah,
least another 3-4 months, it probably wouldn't have been nearly as bad. I
yeah,
100% agree.
yeah. And let's be honest, that is a workplace environment of, don't release a game every year. You're not going to continue to make good games. We
Yeah.
have precedent for this. It's called Call of Duty. Um,
Yes.
oh god, that reminds me of a whole different conversation, but that's funny. But no, but looking at how they were doing with story and designs and stuff like that, it's like they were really trying something. Like, I was looking into it. I had friends tell me how was going with it and everything. I'm like, if they continue down this path, it's a much slower path than you know Mario Galaxy to Mario Odyssey,
Right.
from Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze to Donkey Kong Bonanza, from was it Skyward Sword? Yeah, let's just go with Skyward Sword to Breath of the Wild. Like, it's a slower burn for it, because it's you don't want to scare away customers from your traditional Pokemon stuff. That's the breadwinner,
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
That's
other
why
games
those take longer to cook.
Yeah,
And it's worth
and other
it too.
things, yeah.
I mean, look at what happened. Breath of the Wild was delayed like 3 times, and every time it was delayed, it royally pissed off the community, because they're like, listen, we've been waiting on this for so long. Why do you keep delaying it? And then suddenly the trailer for the official version drops, and they announce it's going to be a launch title for the Switch, and suddenly the entire world goes, okay, we get it, we forgive you.
Yeah, because for the longest time, we didn't even have a name. It was called Zelda Wii U. That's what we knew it as.
Because originally it was going to be a Wii U title.
Yeah, and it still was, but it was one of those branching titles, which, fun fact, every time that has happened, I've always had to get the first in, because I didn't have the money to grab it, because it happened for Twilight Princess, because it was a GameCube and Wii title.
Right.
Fun fact, when it swapped over,
they mirrored the entire game.
Yeah, they mirrored the entire game, which is such a fun little fact that I like, because it's funny to me.
It's kind of silly, though, and actually the reasoning for it, it's dumb, because it challenged the whole Link is canonically left-handed thing, because it's been kind of a struggle for the longest time ever since because of this. But the reason why is because when they conducted a survey on consumers that bought the Wii, that bought the Wii, or even before then, like, what hand do you usually play with? What's your dominant hand? A good majority of it, I forget what the exact number was right-handed.
Yep.
So it didn't make sense to release a game that involved motion controls that was left-handed, because everybody would have to learn how to do it. Now, I will confess this, because we had the original Skyward Sword for the Wii. We actually had a little anniversary CD that came with it that year, and I was actually one of the few individuals that beat the game left-handed and didn't realize it till I did that final Skyward drop on Demise. I'm like, wait, why is my shield why is Link's hand not exactly doing mine? And I look down as I'm sitting on the ottoman. I'm like, oh, that's why. So technically, I beat the game canonically as intended, but it was just really weird.
Yeah, very fun thing. And then the other game that did it was Breath of the Wild, because it was a Wii U to the Switch title, and I got it for the Wii U because it was what I could afford. Is what I had.
Yes.
And the poor Wii U,
dead on start, because it was a good concept, but just didn't quite fully flesh out as they hoped.
Yeah, and as far as marketing went, everybody thought it was it was like the Zapper or the balance board. Everyone thought it was an accessory, not
it wasn't the
console.
actual console. And you played on this, you dueled between the screen on the console and the screen that you were plugged into.
Yeah, which is why I was such a I was so adamant that they shouldn't name the Switch 2 the Switch 2, because it's like, this is a whole Wii U issue here, because Nintendo names their things differently.
Right. They've never
So
they've never followed any molds on purpose.
yeah, we had, okay, we had a Nintendo Entertainment System, then we had the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Okay, there was our precedent. All right, Nintendo 64. All right, we broke said precedent. What's the next one? Next was going to be the 128. GameCube. God, I love the GameCube.
Oh, GameCube was a great generation. Everybody wholeheartedly agrees. Well, all right,
It
so what
was
are we looking at so
considered-
far?
I like these colors, and that's why I haven't said anything about the color, because you were picking everything I was liking. So I was with you.
Now to refine it, I'm still entertaining the idea of a mono eye on the visor, or do you think we should just do it as a blank?
I think a mono eye would bring in some good accenting colors.
Okay.
I think it would help things. I'm thinking isn't Shadow Armor a mono eye?
He's not actually. It just displays. It just displays that way, kind of like a Goblin Slayer.
Yeah. Yes.
I still laugh at the fact that Keisuabe literally got away with implementing Lancelot 1-to-1 and nobody stopped him.
It's so funny to me. I love it so much.
And he's stupid busted too, as far as what he brings to the table. Like his legs with heavy arms is like one of the most cracked wheeled legs in the entirety of the game. Like even if you're on D rank terrain and you pack on the weight, you are running about as fast as an A rank on there. It is quite hilarious.
It's definitely my favorite concept art of a Medbot I've ever seen. I think, Sir. Oh crap! I had the name visually. The Pirate Sabretooth.
Sabatalis? Oh
yes.
no, Musketeer. Sabatalis and Musketeer. Oh yeah, those two were great.
Yeah, those two. Those two's concept art is like, chef's kiss.
Teuga did a fantastic job on their arts.
Yeah, I'm a concept art fiend. I have a fun idea I've been kind of entertaining on and off that I want to do one day, and I've been like slowly grabbing stuff for it as I go. But it's an idea of either a game or a comic or just maybe a story where like all these concept arts that go unused, like all that scrap stuff shows up in a single world and they have to like live in there and everything. And you want to like make a team of characters and everything that has to like deal with that and has to deal with the story and whatnot. Because there's some insane stuff out there. Like I came across a scrap concept art for Optimus, where he was a monster truck, and he is so big. It's so funny.
Well,
literally,
people,
yeah. But people have coined him as Bigfootimus Prime because he's just a unit, and it's fun to me.
I think it's in the same manner that they joke around with the toy from Transformers Energon. They call him Fatimus Prime.
Oh yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah. But there's some other stuff.
I'm like, no, they've got a point.
Yeah. There was a scrapped Power Ranger story. Because as we all know, most of the original stories or not the original, but it all came from Super Sentai.
Right, obviously.
But during the age of Ninja Storm, there was a plot going around that that was called Hexagon, is what the code name was of it. And what the idea was it was to be completely brand made as a Power Rangers project with no Super Sentai.
So completely native unto its own self.
Exactly. And the idea of it was they were still going to use some things that was inspired by what would originally become Ninja Storm.
Right.
You had 3 main Rangers. You had 2 groups of Rangers. With the Thunder Rangers and the Wind Rangers.
Right.
But the story was supposed to be that Tommy Oliver was running this big, uh, basically government sanctioned Power Ranger thing, and the power had gotten to his head and everything.
Okay.
So he was running all of this and everything, and it was being very totalitarian about it.
Right.
And that's where the Thunder Rangers came in, because those were his Rangers that he was sending out along with all the other Rangers.
Those were his his elites.
Yeah, but he had access to all the Rangers across the entire run at this point, because he was in charge of all of them, except for the original actor of the original Red Ranger. He was going to be running the Resistance, which had our three main Rangers from, and that's such a juicy idea that will never get used.
Oh yeah,
it's like I could use that to like world build somewhere in this scrapped world here, because it's so fun to me. I love concept art like that, because it's so interesting what gets left on the cutting room floor, because there's sometimes some good things there, and there's sometimes some bad things. There were some very bad Spider-Man designs from the original Insomniac game. Very bad designs that I'm glad did not make it in. But it's so fun for me personally to just learn about that and see how that goes and see how that formulates and everything.
Oh, I mean, just on the topic of concept arts too, let me actually grab find something real quick. Hold on. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the model Beast Chimera in Meteorite S, right?
Yes.
So, did you know that was actually an entry, or that was the winning entry for a Robo-Robodan themed Orimeda contest, and they had a very specific set of rules over what the design had to look like and the theming that was required. The theming was Nue, and Beast Chimera was the winning design. What I'm about to send you here is one of the designs that was submitted that didn't win, like completely planned out, like probably should have won or came up with something else. This was the one. This one was done by Sylvalion 041, who's been contracted every now and then by Imagineer to work on stuff.
Yeah. Oh.
But this was his concept art submitted for the Nue.
Honestly, this gives me a little bit of it's like a combination of Mewtwo and Base EXC from Metal Man Battle Network. Like, this is
a little bit of gospel in there, yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's definitely feeling to me like this guy's a boss. This guy is, he is either the secret super boss that will completely wreck you unless you are frame perfect, or it is just the ultimate fight at the end. This is
right.
The last.
It was designed as a boss. That was the whole premise to it. It was indeed designed to be a boss. But the theming to it was that it was required to be a Nue type. I don't remember if there was any other specific rules to it, but that was the big one. Is it had to be a Nue. And then they came up with a whole bunch of other ones later. That included, for instance, Kokono Elegy, the nine-tailed Kitsune type, is another entry from a separate Robo-Robodan themed contest, and that one had specific themes where it had to be female, it needed to be multi-petal, and it needed to have a nine-tailed Kitsune as the primary motif. So Kokono Elegy was the winning concept of that one. Then they had another one a little later on with Ouroboros. They did the same thing. It had to be Ouroboros themed, it had to be male, and it had to be float-legged. But then they let the community go nuts with the rest of the process. Yeah,
it's funny because granted it's been years since they did it, but Digimon also had done something similar for Digimon to show up officially. I really wish Pokemon would give that a shot.
With like original designs, or
like to have a contest, be like, show up in the next generation.
Now, I will say this much though about Pokemon and its designs and everything like that. Like, it kind of tied back to Scarlet Violet for a minute. A lot of people can say what they want about Scarlet Violet, saying it either was a really good gen or it really wasn't, or they didn't care for it. They can say all they want. But to me personally, they had Garganical in there, and I forgive it because now it rounds out my Golem trio.
For me, I've got issues with the Palmont line. I've got issues with that one.
I didn't care too much for it, honestly, but I have a friend who's obsessed with Palmont, and they would literally fight anyone who said anything bad about Palmont.
The only thing I have for it is I think it's a stage too long. You take out that middle stage of it.
Yeah, it probably shouldn't have been a 3-stager, but they probably had a quota they had to meet on it, so they didn't do much.
Yeah, but if that's the case, they probably should have changed the design a little bit.
Yeah, because there really wasn't a lot of a change between its stage 2 and stage 3. It just literally stood up on its hind legs.
Yeah. Granted, not all Pokemon, change extraordinarily drastically. But your Pika clone, your first Pika clone that evolves.
Yeah, especially as the 3-stage. Yeah, especially the 3-stager like that too. Yeah, but honestly, my preferences in particular were always weird, so I never really cared much for those and never paid attention. Like I said, if I had the opportunity to use Claydol and Golurk in the same team, that is literally all I would use the entirety of my run. And I was upset that Scarlet Violet did not have Claydol in it. I was okay with the fact they had Golurk in there. No, I take it back. They didn't have Golurk in there either. I was very sorely upset over it. I almost didn't buy it for that reason, because I needed my boys. But at the same time, I did anyway, because it was still fairly enjoyable. And people are probably going to crucify me for this one. I personally liked the idea of the paradoxes. I thought the paradoxes were a really cool concept.
Oh, yeah.
And
I like them.
And they can do so much with it. Now, I do not like, at all, I think they're gross looking. I do not like what they did with paradoxes for the legendary dogs. I do not like them at all. They look really, really stupid to me. But I do like the concept behind what paradox offers. Because it creates so many new possibilities and potentials for variants, or even regional variants of the same Pokemon. And they can get away with it and milk it for as long as they want, and never run out of content. Like they could make a future paradox of, I'm just gonna throw a random one out there, say Golurk, and they could come up with something that's super modern as like a cyberganic kind of automaton instead of an ancient one, and name it something like Iron Giant or something similar, pun intended. But they can also write it off as something completely new and original because it's not actually the OG Golurk. And people would be okay with that. They wouldn't mind. That's my opinion.
Real quick, there's a tool here I want to show you on clip here. So, go over to the right-hand side where, right under where your blending mode is set to normal.
Let me see. Yeah.
Go right down that first icon. That's in that lineup. You see where it's like two squares overlapping?
Oh, I see, yeah.
No, not over there. Right underneath where it says normal.
Oh, right here?
Yep, click that. Now drag your layer above your colorings. Oh, no, above. Yeah.
Yeah, it is above the color. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there. Yeah, right, like that. So now you cannot draw any, like, it will not pop up and show anywhere off of these colors.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah. This is my bread and butter for things. This is how I shade all my stuff, is using that pass-through, because it locks you into whatever's below it.
Interesting.
If, for example, if you do a new layer over your line art, this will be the most drastic here.
Okay.
All right. Now do the same. Yep. Do that. Now pick a different color here. Pick like a red, something just absolutely out there, and then.
Huh.
Yep. It's a wonderful tool that I had found, and it's been my go-to.
Interesting. I mean, granted, there's a ton of stuff I probably haven't learned or discovered
Oh
because I
yeah,
just haven't
yeah.
played around. But honestly, I might make good use of that tool going forward. That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that one's a fun tool to mess with. Like, yeah, and there's like a billion things I haven't messed with anything, but that's one that I had found, and I'm like, this is my baby.
That'll probably make life a whole lot easier too when I'm coloring, so I don't have to go back and constantly keep shading over, cleaning back over
Yes.
myself.
Yeah. So for me, all my colors are on different layers, so that way I can do that in different stages. It
I
does
see.
double your layer count, but
It's
it
cleaner.
also, yeah.
Huh.
It saves a little bit of headache on it. And
Interesting.
another thing too is that you can change, because you have all this as one color. You can quick change this as something else too.
Interesting.
Uh, uh, like when you finish coloring this, I can show you because it's also fun. Back over, right underneath your opacity,
Uh huh.
you have the blue and the white.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hit the drop down of that,
Uh-huh.
and it should, you should be able to put in two different colors there.
Uh-huh.
If you pick a different color, it'll change the color of your whatever you have there.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, that's it's a fun thing for me if because usually I go in having a very clear idea of what color scheme I want for something. It's
Uh-huh.
just I just already have that in my mind.
Right.
Sometimes it doesn't work, and granted, some things I'm like, okay, I like this part of it. I want to change something else, and I'll instead of having to completely recolor it,
Right.
I just change it right there.
Interesting. That's actually a good tool to keep in mind. I never
Yep.
thought. I never really looked too much into that. I'm like, listen, as long as it does what I need to, I don't mind however long it takes. It's not a big deal to me. But,
Exactly. Yeah.
But no,
Sometimes.
that's actually pretty
Sometimes
solid
it's
tool to keep in mind.
Yeah. Like I said, sometimes there's some fun ones with it. Like I said, I'm sure there's a ton that I haven't even touched either. Those are really my two big ones that I know. So,
Oh, that's good to
Yeah.
keep in mind. I think I'll definitely be putting that
Yeah.
one to good use.
yeah, like I haven't even really messed around too much with a lot of blending layers and stuff like that. Like I've only very recently started, dancing around with that and everything. But
What I need to do
It's-
is see
yeah.
if there's a YouTube channel out there that does very similar to what a Royal Skies LLC does on YouTube. Have you ever heard of that channel?
the name sounds familiar.
So I mentioned it as a go-to for anyone who ever wants to learn 3D modeling in any capacity, especially Blender. I recommend this channel to everybody, and I will continue to do it until the day I die. Because
Does he make a lot of donuts? Is this the guy I'm thinking of?
Not actually, no. He may touch on it every now and
Okay.
then, but what he does is he does breakdowns and explanations of Blender. So how to rig, how to animate, how to make an
Yeah.
armature. But the nice thing is, instead of taking an entire 30-minute, 60, 90-minute process to teach you how to subdivide and what it does and how to use it, he takes all his videos. They are usually less than like 2 minutes long each, 5 if it's a really complicated process. And he teaches you exactly how to use that specific tool. No deviance, oh, don't forget about this tool here. He teaches you how
Yeah.
to use that tool. So you're not sitting there for an hour going, okay, so I understand how to weight paint. Why am I in sculpt mode? He doesn't do that. He teaches exactly what's in the video within about 2 minutes, and with a video demonstration of what he's doing the whole time, and you know exactly what to do by the time you're done and you're ready to go.
Yeah, that sounds extremely helpful. Yeah.
I recommend that channel to everybody. Like, if you have any possibility or even a semblance of wanting to learn Blender, because coming from someone who self-taught himself Blender for like 8 years, I wish I had that tool sooner, because it covered everything I had to self-teach myself, and then stuff I didn't even realize immediately.
What's what's his name again? I've got a
Royals-
friend who's
It's
Yeah.
Royal Skies LLC.
I've got a friend who's been Skies LLC. Who's been hopping into a little bit of Blender, self teaching and everything, and I will send this on over to him right
Yeah,
now.
I cannot emphasize enough how influential that channel is, because like I said, you will find a dozen tutorials on Blender on how to make an armature. But the problem is, all of those tutorials are 20 to 30 minutes a piece, and they teach you 6 other tools you have to understand. And by the time that you're ready to actually do it, you're lost. He doesn't waste time. If he's teaching you how to do, for instance, mocapping, and how to capture mocap, he is only teaching you how to capture mocap. He is not going to teach you all the tools that require to go into mocap, all the items that you need for it, unless they're necessary to hit to what he's trying to teach. He only covers one thing per video, under 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do it. No jumping around or anything. Just here
right,
it is.
and it's great for that reason, because it just covers so much, and you can sit there and still have the gusto to want to learn 3D modeling without being Okay, this might be good.
Yeah. So here's the thing about that, though. Move that layer back.
Probably put them in a folder is what I'm thinking.
You can put them in a folder, but you can also make that dark one also through. It whatever's on the bottom of that's not a through is like it's going all the way down.
Okay, so remind me again how I set that up.
So right underneath normal. Yep. Click that button, and then now it's applying all the way down to the bottom one.
Gotcha.
And if you and if you like, for example, if you accidentally did this was on the other side of things, like if you had it above the light, you could go over the light and it would darken the light side of it, right?
Okay.
Because that's how you have it set up for.
I see.
Yeah, but now you're having it on the reverse.
Gotcha. Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if I have it on the reverse, because I'm a very backwards person.
Well, yeah, you do whatever which way works for you. For me, a lot of times I do my my light and my shade on the same layer, because I'm insane, and then I get upset with myself where it's like, well, now if I erase the shine, I erase everything else. Shit.
Yeah, that's honestly why you always keep light and dark on separate layers.
Yeah, I really should. It's a bad habit I have, but
I mean, to each their own.
Well, I'm nearly 30. I'm not gonna remember anything new.
I mean, hey, there's 2 people here that are hitting the 3-0 club here sometime in the next soon. So
yeah, I
try not to think about it.
I've got an exact month.
Oof.
I'm literally in 1 month.
Oh wow.
I will be 30. So I am ancient. I still don't know how to do taxes.
Well, let's be real. Who does?
The people I pay to do my taxes.
You know what? That's fair. I was actually so genuinely scared to do my taxes this year, because and if anyone's known me longer than about a year, they'll know this. I came from a position where, for the dumbest reason whatsoever, they just kept progressively cutting down my hours. Like, I would have a regular schedule.
I remember.
I would have a regular schedule of some semblance, but then there would be, actually, like, right up until the point that I left and I quit that position and I got hired somewhere else, I was only working like 1 day a week at barely like 6 hours. And when I would raise a fuss and I would tell them, hey, I have bills I have to pay, I can't do this, give me hours, I want to work, they claimed I had an attitude problem, because I'm like, excuse me? Yeah, the reason why I'm having an attitude problem is because you guys are cutting on my hours and I can't make my bills.
Yeah.
So
it's almost like if you pay your workers and make sure they have decent pay and decent hours.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like their attitude and their opinions of things change.
Right. I mean, yeah, it was kind of a headache to work with half the time. I get it, but as long as I'm able to pay my bills and still have a little bit left over I can put away, I was willing to stomach it and tolerate whatever dumb policies or rules they wanted to put in place.
Yeah.
Because I knew how to do the job and I wanted to do more, but they wouldn't let me. So
yeah, it makes me think of like there's a few cities and everything that have went to a the 40, you work 3 days, or not three, you work
4 days. It's like 4 days of 10 hours, and then you have 3 days off.
Yeah, and then they say it's like, our work productivity and everyone's mood is
it's exhausting.
So much better.
It's exhausting those 4 days, but they're coming back properly rested and rejuvenated because they have a day that they can rest, the day that they can do stuff, that they can still work on stuff and get stuff done, and a day that they can just goof off and do whatever. So it's a good work-life balance. And I even strongly consider that for the longest time too. My folks are like, that is going to mentally, destroy you. I'm like, listen, at this point, I'm desperate enough. I need work because I've had to have friends spot me a few dollars every here and there because I couldn't make my car payment some months, and that was a whole headache and a half I was constantly worried about. And my mental health was just so bad because I was scared if I wouldn't be able to make my bills one month or whatever. And there was a couple points where my bank account was in the red for 2-3 days at a time, to the point that my bank was harassing me now, saying, hey, if this doesn't get situated, we're going to have problems. And I tell them, listen, there's literally nothing I can do until this day. And my folks are like, yeah, I understand that, but that's not going to stop the computers from defaulting you on it regardless. So it was just one headache after another with it, and it just got to the point where I just stopped trying to fight it. And it got so frustrating because I was raised with a very strong work ethic. And when I was on a job to do a job, I knew how to do it. And if there was nothing to do, I tried to find something that I could do. Like, if I was checking messages on my phone for whatever reason, it was because there was legitimately nothing to do at all. Because I always made sure I checked very carefully, okay, how's the trash looking? Okay, trash has been already taken out by the other person, so I don't have to worry about it. What about restocking a shelf? No, those are looking pretty good for now. I think they can. I think they should be able to live for another day or so. Constantly trying to find things to do, but it just got so frustrating because I would tell them, hey, how much, what does it take to get up to the front desk over at customer service? Because I have a decade's worth of experience with it. Why, and I want to train for it because because of your rule system, you guys require somebody to be at the desk at all times, and no one can really leave. So what I want, I'm not even saying to promote me to the desk. I want to learn how to run it. So if someone has to step away or someone calls out and I'm on shift, you can schedule me to come in for it because so I can learn how to count money, do deposits, I can handle any kind of customer concerns because I know how to do all that. Train me. And they would.
Yeah.
So I just gave up after a while. And it was an absolute mess on my mental health over that last year and a half.
I remember you asked me for was Kofi, right?
Yes. I'm still considering that, by the way, like as a one-time donation thing, because I've tried Throne and I've given up on it.
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't heard any like super success stories on Throne, I'll be honest.
The way I understand Throne, it's basically if you have a larger community and you want them to help donate toward buying you things, like say an upgrade for a PC or an accessory or something, but not if it's something for like cash or something specific. So. Yeah.
I have a dumb suggestion here. I want to see what it'll look like.
Okay.
With the this is using tools that I know about. On the dart here, could you go and click the two color drop down thing again, where it changes the line? Yep. Now, if you can, that's already looking fun. But if you could change it to a like a deep orange.
Deep orange, huh?
Yeah.
Something kind of like closer to a brown, technically.
Yeah. Let's see how that looks.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, it's warm lighting.
Yeah, I need to.
Yeah, and you can change both colors, and it will make it darker. If you change the blue and the white, so it makes it darker because it's trying to find a medium.
Something kind of like that. It's still showing up as a brighter color.
Yeah.
All right, let me try.
Yeah. You have to have both of them as the same, and it does it solid.
Okay. I
Yeah.
see.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I see. Okay, so
Yeah.
there we go, kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's still kind of showing up as a lighter color, but I can definitely use
Try
that.
try this. Yeah.
I can definitely try that as as another concept. Let me try that with the light layer, not the dark layer.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me try it that way. So let me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
And the good news is that you can just cut it off and on very quickly.
Let me turn that. Thank you.
Here, yeah, we didn't think this was going to be an educational stream.
Hey, I mean, I'll take it. I don't mind. I'm always down to learning new stuff.
Yeah.
I think
Like I
it's
said,
because
these are the
layer's
only
so
tools.
light.
Yeah. Well, like I say, because you used white is
that's
going
right,
to
I
be
have
what
to-
it's trying to find.
I
Yeah.
have to change the other one. That's right.
Yeah.
There we go. That's better.
Yeah. There we go. It's kind of looking like
Interesting.
ambient furnace lighting.
Interesting.
Yeah, because if you go to your base color layer now, like where you have all your colors, and if you just click it, you can see how it's doing the gradients of things. So if you just click the color, you can see how it's like reading the colors.
Yeah, that's actually kind of cool. Huh.
Yeah.
I might actually have to start using that tool for stuff. That's a neat little thing.
It is a very fun thing, and it's also very fun. Like if you click it right now, while you have these colors, while you have this layer selected, and you just click it so that way it changes changes to the blue and white. Yeah, you can see. Yeah, you can see the subtle differences. Of your colors already.
Interesting.
Because it's trying to make that gradient and everything, so it takes the darker version and change. That's what the top color is. It's whatever the darkest color is, and then your lighter ones for there. Yeah, no, it's a fun. Like I said, those are my two fun tools. If there's anything you learn from this one, that Dr. Pepper is good. That's all that really matters from this stream.
Interesting. Actually, a really neat little concept. I'm definitely gonna be keeping that in mind.
Yeah, like I said, it is very fun.
Actually,
There's a whole other things like there's stuff with vector tools and stuff like that I have not messed with. But I've heard that they're amazing tools to use and everything. And I just haven't messed with it.
Okay, so what should we do as the model ID for this one though?
That is a good idea. I had an idea slightly. Helmchand originally did the blacksmith one, right? What if this was the second one in that number?
Hey, I'd be down for it. What was her?
Yeah.
What was the ID she used for that one again? Hold on, it was.
Yeah, we're trying to.
It was BSM. BSM 01. So what if we do this one as BSM 0?
Oh, okay. I'm fine with that.
I don't know why I called these 00 when I actually drew them, but that's fine. I'll figure it out. Okay. We'll do
it in post. The editor will do it in post.
We'll do BSM 00. We came up with what, Fornax?
Yeah, Fornax. I close. Okay, you have it typed because I have closed that file.
I see. I put it in our chat too.
Perfect. Thank you.
Let's see. Let's do. Okay. That. All right. Then we have Forge Mask. This was. Let me double check what this kit was again, because we picked number 2.
Yes.
It
yeah, we picked number 2. That is wide beam.
All right, yeah, just read that off to me so I don't have to
yes, sir.
jump back and forth. Okay, so we have that.
Wide beam.
All right. Was it Smithy Mitt?
Next one was Smithy Mitt,
right.
And that is Flame.
And we had Brick Oven.
Brick Oven for Melt Shot.
And then we had Heavy Boot.
Heavy Boot. Biped Battle Master.
And this had a heavy limit of, what was it, 1? What we say, 1?
Yes, this was a 1, yeah.
So let's do brick oven as the heavy part.
I agree. Because it's also funny that heavy boot's not heavy.
Only because legs can't be heavy. That's just how many legs they support.
Oh, they can't? Okay. Oh, I understand. It makes sense now. I don't have any fun text tools tips, unfortunately.
No, I just...
You're just stuck with the default on those. Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind.
You're stuck with the default on those. I don't have that.
I don't mind them, honestly.
Yeah, they're not bad. No. The only thing that I dislike is that if I ever have it clicked and I haven't typed anything yet, and then I like go to save or anything else, I have to unclick the tool and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like have to click. Yeah, that's my only bit for it. But it's like the old days when all we had was Internet Explorer, and you would go to close it, and it would be it would ask you, do you want to close these? And you're like, yeah, of course I want to close them. Why are you asking? And then I've closed Chrome so many times. And I go, I just cursed myself because it's like, didn't want to close it. But speaking of browsers, I wonder if there's an Opera setup for Metabots.
So
I have my.
What do you mean?
So Opera has themes that you can go with and everything, right? It changes your typing. You can have background music. You can have, of course, wallpapers and stuff like that.
I got you.
I have mine themed to Kingdom Hearts, right? It's the same typing sound that you hear in the game. It's when I close a browser, it's the same thing as you backing out of something. There's all of that, and I wonder if someone has done one for Metabots.
I don't know, honestly, but I stick with Chrome, so I can't say one way or another.
Yeah. I used to stick for Chrome for a while. I don't remember why I made the change. I just up and decided one day, it's like, I want to try something different. And
I've heard good things about Opera.
Yeah, Opera has been very good. I don't have any complaints out of it. So yeah, it's been very good.
So this here might let's move it over. I'll actually grab the layer properly.
No, you can't do that. That's illegal. I do think it's very funny that you do this differently than I do, and this isn't a wrong way or right way for any of it here. But you do a single layer with your ruler affecting layers from there, invisible. I make new rulers on the layer that I'm working on.
Okay.
And I delete them afterwards. It's very interesting to me. Like I said,
you're probably staring at my style, going, different. "What are you doing?"
No, it's like I didn't know you could do that. That's why I'm sitting here looking at it like, huh, that's interesting. Here's a dumb question for you.
I might have a dumb answer. The sky is blue.
Perfect.
I use that joke on everybody.
That's a great way to answer that. I am stealing it. But
I use that for everybody.
That's good. It's really good.
It's like this. I use the same thing for people that say you heard nothing, and I tell them heard what, and I have to repeat themselves like 3 times before they get it. I use that joke on everybody.
That's also a good one.
I say you never heard this.
My favorite.
Heard what? Anyway, yes, do go on.
My favorite bit. Well, my favorite bit to do is that I will pronounce things incorrectly, like if it's got a silent letter. My favorite is Persuedo instead of pseudo.
Okay, yeah, I could see that annoying some people.
It's especially in a tabletop setting where someone has a pseudo dragon familiar, and I just call it a Persuedo.
Like that that one clip from Family Guy that goes around. Cool Whip. Why are you saying it like
Cool
that?
Whip, yeah. Cool Whip.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Yeah, it's very fun. Now, have you ever thought of what a Metabot's representative would be in a Smash game?
Honestly, it would have to be, only because of their notoriety, it would have to be Metabee or Rokusho. Like it just has to be. Because it can't be anyone else.
It's the Pikachu, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's their Pikachu. It'd be like saying, obviously Agumon has to be the Digimon.
Right. Actually, let me see if I can dig up something real quick, because I actually still have a poster that was made by Project Rise. I still have it right here. An old poster that was posted around for Project Rising Beetle, back when Smash the Smash 3DS held the open ballot. And people were putting in characters from all over. And I still held on to that poster all this time after so many years.
Oh, that's pretty neat. I like that a lot. I got Sora in, and that was my Hail Mary. So Metabee was
you're
my
a happy
second
camper.
one. Yeah, I got in under the wire there. The theory the concept I had for what Metabots would be in Smash.
Okay.
Is you would have both Metabee and Rokusho.
Right.
But it would
obviously.
but it would be in a style of a swap, right? But
like
not
an Echo Fighter. Or what
not even an Echo Fighter. I'm talking more like classic Sheik in Zelda. Pyra and Mithra.
Okay, so like a swap.
One fighter and one. Yes, but different. Because what is a core mechanic of Metabots?
Is the mix and match.
Exactly. So what if like the down B move would be to swap parts? So you would start off like you would start off as Metabee.
And
you would be a slower fighter.
And technically, that would be considered a standard mechanic now, because if you look at how Pyra and Mithra behave, if you use either of them, their combat styles are almost completely polar opposite.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so, my idea was that you would start off with Metabee being a slower, tankier fighter that's harder to really launch, but with range attacks and everything, obviously, as he is.
Kind of like a Samus, Samus or Mega Man, but a little bulkier.
Yeah. And then, you press down B, you swap the legs out. Well, now you're slightly lighter because you have Rokusho's legs. And you can move a little bit faster. But you're still, So
it's kind of like transforming from Mega Man into Sheik.
Exactly. And then you press down B again, you swap out an arm. You get a different method of fight.
I can see it.
Down B, you swap out another arm. And then down B again, and now you're fully Rokusho. Now you're fighting as a more speedy melee-based fighter. And like that sort of, you would just keep cycling with the down B every time to swap it. And of course, obviously the both of the Final Smashers would obviously be the Metaforce.
Right.
That's just too iconic.
Yeah.
Though I would personally want.
Now here's a counter consideration. Is consider the Metabots representative like Pokemon Trainer.
That's also going. Yeah. Let's see here.
Now,
usually you would have a team of 3.
It would skip out on the whole, swapping parts mechanic and everything like that, especially if they wanted to keep it simple. But at the same time, it would allow for multiple representatives of the series without having to complicate and make whole new kits for 4 or 5 different attack behaviors or mechanics and conditions. Because you got to think as well on who's going to program all that.
Yeah, well, the thing is that for the guest fighters and everything, there's 2 ways in which that they tend to happen. They go all out and represent as much of their series as possible, or they represent their first series, their first game in the series. Mega Man being
the original Rockman.
Yeah. Well, and only really showing up in the first, having things from like the first 5 games.
Right.
Sora only shows things from the first game. He came out after the 3rd game came out, right? Mm-hmm. There's been a while. Sonic, we don't talk about Sonic.
Also because it's worth mentioning, he was literally thrown in last minute.
Yeah, but they could have retooled him by now. They had plenty of games. Cloud, Cloud. Granted, he's only had really the 1 game, but they all really show off the first game. So, but Metabots being a little bit different, I think it would definitely be more so of what was adapted into the anime, and what we had the remake games of. So we would have Icky instead of Henry, I think.
Right.
As our representative of the trainer.
Right, obviously.
Then, of course, we had Metabee and Roku's show. And honestly, I think you could probably still get away with that, with doing the swap mechanic with that, with the down B swapping the parts with just those 2. Generally, you have a 3-stager.
Typically, yeah.
So who would, in your opinion, who would be the 3rd representation that wouldn't necessarily overlap with Metabee's more strength tank orientated builds versus
honestly
speed?
It'd be kind of tough telling because especially if we take at the time when they had the open ballot, Medarot 8 was the 1 game that was out, so you either had Kabuto or Kuwagata. But now we have options, and very obviously, if they were to go with the trio, it would need to be Cross Messiah.
Absolutely, I would agree, yeah.
And he would serve as a really good hybrid between the 2 of them, because he may not be as tanky, but he's notably faster than Metabee, but at the same time, he's not as fast as Rokusho.
Yeah. Yeah, he would be a good middle stage of it, yeah. For the final smash though, we definitely need a. I would want the big wing from the mangas that shows up when Metabee and Rokusho.
Very easily, without a doubt.
That's it's like, okay, you don't really see that in the anime. At least I don't remember. It's been a hot minute since I've seen the anime, but I don't remember that in the anime.
It never showed up at all. Never once. Not once.
Yeah, it's like, no, I kind of like that. That kind of
that was a manga thing.
That's really good. You have such a fancier signature than I do. Then I make my own signature, I guess I should say. Because it's literally, I just write Clark and then I do my little face.
Well, I like to think I do something unique with it, but since this was a collaborative effort, I'm not the only one signing this. But honestly, I'd say he came out pretty solid.
Yeah.
Especially the mono eye was pretty good too. The mono eye was a pretty good idea too, especially with wide beam, because I kind of forgot he had that for a minute.
Yeah, because I mean, we came up with the the mask and everything, and it fit so well for a wide beam.
Yeah, exactly.
We just moved on from it, and then
All right, but honestly, I like it. It came out really well. And what's great too is the fact that someone can take this exact same kit and come up with something completely different. Because
absolutely, yeah.
All they have to do is just change the motif, and they come up with something completely unique, but with the exact same kit. But even then, like I said, I think it came out really, really well. I had a lot of fun putting it together. I liked how it stayed very collaborative. It wasn't just me doing it. It was both of us putting this together. So I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, it came out very fun. It came out, he feels both like somebody who would be a very fun friend in an anime, and a terrifying boss to come across in like a Dark Souls game.
Oh yeah.
Like he feels like he fits both very well in a very fun way. Uh, yeah, like I could see, like I said, I could see him showing up in like a that Pinocchio, Liza P, right? Like he
Yes.
feels
Yes.
Liza P esque,
Yes.
and but at the same time, like in an anime, I could see him being scary at first, and then
He's just really
just
gruff looking.
yeah, he's really gruff looking, but he's just the most like, hi, how are you? Just
Yeah, exactly.
absolutely fun character to be around and everything. Like he's very layered in that aspect, just depending on the location where he's put in,
Right.
and you know,
But
yeah,
honestly,
he's
I think we did
taking.
I think we did a really good
Yeah.
job for a 3.5 hour stream. Normally, I tend to sit
Oh
between
yeah.
three and a half. So I think we still made really good time.
Oh yeah.
We did a pretty good job coming up with something unique and original from the ground up. Didn't have a lot of time. Didn't really struggle a lot with trying to figure out how it goes together either, because you and I were kind of on the same wavelength with a ton of it. But
Yeah.
no, honestly, it came out really nice. And like I said earlier when this stream started, I always love doing these because I never know what the final result is going to be. There's a reason very specifically that when I instruct my guests ahead of stream to play with the generator and not show me the results, it's because I don't want to pre-plan. Because if you show me those results ahead of time, I'm thinking about them for the entire time up to the stream, and I already have an idea in mind of what I want to do, and it's going to completely sour the entire intent and thought of what we can do. The difference is you bringing them here as is, as completely fresh, like not even 5 or 10 minutes before stream went live. I didn't have time to think about it. I mean, I could glimpse them over and think, okay, cool, that looks fairly synergetic, or that's a very strange kit, but I'm not thinking about themes, and I wanted to keep it that way on purpose, because it takes away not just from the creativity of coming up with something on stream, but also prevents the collaboration between myself and my guest. Because what if they've been staring at this longer than I have, and they have an idea, or they don't have one, and they think, oh, man, I like this concept, I just don't know what to do with it. Hey, what if we approached it this way? You know what? That's genius. That actually works out really well. So that's why I do it that. That's why I do it that way, is to keep the randomness of it. And there's been no two that have been the same or the same in concept or theme. And I honestly am just so happy with that. And I always love doing these, and I hope to host more in the future as time goes on. But that aside, Clark, it is an absolute treat to have you on the MNN. I've been meaning to do it for a while now. I just haven't had the opportunity with streaming and everything like that that's been coming around. But yeah, I'd be totally down to do something else like this, like a volume. Which one did I number you as? 9.5 or something, or 9B or something. We could do something, do something like this again some other time.
Yeah, this would be very fun to do again. And this was, at the very least, I got the yap for 3.5 hours. So I met my quota.
I mean, hey,
I did my job.
I mean, hey, it's not yapping if we're both doing it. We're having engaging conversation.
That is fair. Yeah,
So,
and you know what? We taught each other plenty of things throughout it.
And
very fun.
And that tool that you showed me there, I'm going to be putting that one to very good use. I didn't even experiment with what a lot of those tools did, so I'm going to be having a lot of fun with that. And probably going forward, I'll be tinkering with that with some of my future designs when I put them together. The only thing I'd really be doing differently with this one is the next time they open up an official contest, I am going to kind of crunch it back down to the 2K by 2K, and then submit it that way, because all these ones that I'm collecting, as with guest artists, I'm gonna try to send those in. Like I had like 15 something I sent in the last contest, so I have a new wave that I can send them and try again. In fact,
and I can't wait for producer Son to go, oh no, not again, and we have to go through all of these.
No, honestly,
we got to put one in. We got to put one in.
I was so happy when he just reviewed him, because that alone was huge for me. The only question I really had was the fact he looked over Gunman Clyde, but he completely skipped over Thief Bonnie, and they were kind of designed to be a duo. So I'm kind of scratching my head over that one specifically, but it might just
he might have accidentally missed over it.
Probably.
I know I've done that before of like saving things and I miss something. I mean, I missed the heavy on part of these, so
it's
just
It's not a big
Stuff
deal.
happens.
In fact,
Yeah.
yeah, Sentai Hero actually is one that I'm going to be sending in with the next contest because I was able to crunch that one down to the 2K by 2K resolution. And I cleaned up that profile sheet just a little bit. What are some others that I did before I do officially close this out? I am going to submit Last Citadel.
Last Citadel's really good. I really like Last Citadel.
Yeah, I just have to I just have to retypeset it for JP, but I actually already did. I just didn't pull that one up. So I'm gonna
It
send in. Yeah, I'm sending
this
in
one
Last
very
Citadel.
reminds me of the first Smash Brothers game, the
Yeah, Hyrule
Hyrule
Castle. That was
Stays.
actually
Yeah,
part of the original idea. I'm like, huh, I kind of like where this
yeah,
is going.
yeah.
So I just
Like
went with it.
it's good. It's a subtle enough nod. It's very fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really like
I am gonna send Bozetto in with the next one because I didn't have his concept sheet ready in time.
it. And as we know too, that the coveted KBT and KWG are not off the table for being
No, no.
being added because the past and future paradoxes of Notion.
Yep,
That's
yep.
such a funny bit. I love it
I'm
so much.
I'm still kicking myself that you guys caught me slacking on that when I didn't think about it. I've been recording those the entire time, and I didn't even realize that. Hey, look, it's better on Scarlet and Violet. I'm like, what? And I was so
Yeah.
mad at myself I didn't catch on that bit. Let me see what's another one I'm
Oh.
gonna send in. I'm gonna send in Big One because I've had a chance to completely rebuild him from the ground up.
Yeah, I remember you showing me the concept of it and
Oh
everything
yeah,
as you went through it. This was very fun.
I'm looking forward to sending him in.
I love his hammer because it looks like a very squished out Baymax in a fun way.
Yeah. Let me see. And the other one I'm thinking,
And
I need to go back and finish this concept. It's not done yet, but it was an idea from the random kit generator that was sent in. It's a witch hunter type that I tinkered with an idea for a while back and never finished.
yes, I remember us talking about this one. Yeah,
So
yeah, I really liked her.
I might go back and tinker with this one a little more and play around with it, but I want to try to finish her.
Yeah,
To
I
get her
think
ready.
she has a lot of legs to. Well, she also has a lot of but a lot of legs to really get some traction because I mean everyone loves a witch hunter.
Yeah.
Big hat, magic, woman.
Yep.
There's nothing not to like.
Exactly. So I've got a handful of them I'm also working on. I have ready ahead of time, but I'm definitely going to be sending in a bunch of these guest Orimedas as well, and see which one of them stick, if any of them do, and just kind of see where it goes. But yeah. Before I do officially wrap us up here at about the 3.5 hour mark, Clark, is there anything incoming that you'd like to plug on in and talk about or showcase before we officially bid fare thee well here on the workshop floor?
I got two things I could plug here. So, like I said at the beginning of the stream, next Tuesday on my Twitch channel will be the season finale of Clovercraft season 5. I have no idea what we're going to be doing with it, but it's the end of it. So if you want to catch in at the end and have no idea what's going on, yeah, there you go. And also on tomorrow, because that's the 13th. Yes, tomorrow, the podcast I'm a part of, the Guiding Keys podcast for Kingdom Hearts, there is a community driven thing for Kingdom Hearts that the fans have made up called the Million Dreams Award.
Okay.
And it's basically the Emmys for Kingdom Hearts fans.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
content creators have been voted on and everything. The voting is closed and everything. But if you want to check it out, and hopefully I win the podcast section, that'll happen there.
I will keep my fingers crossed for you,
so,
bud.
Yeah, hopefully it'd be insane. And if you're interested in wanting to do Keyblade designs and stuff too, very similar to the Orimeda contests that Kuura hosts, we do Keyblade contests in the Keyblade Forge, which I actually won that one. I lost the Orimeda. I won the last Keyblade contest. So you know what? It evened out.
You've been pretty consistently scoring in higher roles or even honorable mention in the last few. So you have a lot of really creative ones. So I'm excited to see what we're going to come up with the next one. I got to figure out a theme for it. Because apparently a lot of people really like the themed contests and not the free for alls. But I suspect I suspect the steampunk one probably fell flat because it is kind of a complex aesthetic to capture, and I'll own up to that
Yeah.
one as well. But I'll have to think of something a little user friendly.
Yeah, a fun thing that we do in with the Keyblade Forge one is this last one was special because it was based off of OCs,
Mm-hmm.
but usually what we do, it's like we have everybody vote on, do you want it to be based off of books, movie, like,
Okay.
we
Okay.
have the community vote for it.
Okay.
That
Okay.
way, it opens up. It's like, do you want it, comic book style? Do you want it
I'll
be
have
based
to
off of
I'll have to
video
steal that
games? It's
idea.
something. Yeah,
I'll have to
yeah.
steal that idea.
It's fun to do because it gives the community a bit more of a call of it and everything. And then
Okay.
sometimes we decide, no, this is what we're going to be doing.
Okay, I'll
Um,
have to steal that idea. Actually, that's a good one. I'll say in the next I'd
yeah,
say month and a half or something, or whenever I decide we're gonna host another contest. I'll have to round that up and see what comes up. See what comes out of it. But no, that sounds really exciting, Clark. Do wish you the best in that voting and for your
hopefully.
season finale for your Minecraft Twitch streaming. Um, Definitely got plenty of things that you could consider or look into in the meantime. On the downtime, as other things to do with the channel. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, when I do officially bid thee well, if you don't mind camping out muted in chat just a little bit
Of
longer after I
course.
run my outro, I'd appreciate that. But once again, Clark, it was a pleasure and a treat to have you here on the MNN workshop floor with me tonight as we came up with Fornax. Really solid design, came up really well, and I think it looks really solid too and captures a lot of the essence of Metarat in some cases. So he came out really, really well. So it's always good to have another guest here on the MNN. I'm looking forward to the next time that we can do something.
Absolutely. I'm gonna continue to haunt these halls.
It's always great to have you, bud. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
All right, but with that being said, we are coming to run on the 3.5 hour mark, which, like I said, it's honestly about good time. We came up with a really creative design from the ground up, and I always love coming up with these because no two are ever going to be the same. As far as what I'm doing on my channel coming up in the next couple weeks or so, toward the end of July, it's kind of hard telling. I've not figured out exactly what I'm going to do yet. I'm kind of dancing with the idea of a couple more guest Orimedas. I have not had a chance to inquire properly yet. I have a couple other stream ideas I'm dancing with, but nothing official just at this current time. But as always, just kind of keep in touch with me on Twitter or on Discord or whatever, and you guys will get the down low on that right when I make those plans. But with all that being said, as always, I do appreciate you all for stopping in, just as you always do. And until next time, this is your host, Kuura Isagami of the Metarat News Network, signing out.